6:33, I'm going to start the Plan Commission meeting for April 20th, 2026. Have everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mike, if you could take attendance, please.
Nikki Finelli,
Present.
Brad Johnson,
Present.
Craig Melton,
Present.
Jim Hurst,
Present.
Josh Fedor,
Present.
Kendrick Davis,
Present.
Nick Plopper.
Present.
All present.
Very good. Item 3 on the agenda is our Planning and Building Department report, which is available online. Moving on to number 4 is our approval of Plan Commission meeting minutes from March 16th, 2026. We'll need a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That is passed. Okay, before we start tonight, I just want to welcome everyone to the Plan Commission meeting. If you do wish to speak in regards to any of the cases that we have before us today, we have sign-in sheets over by the door. You are not allowed to speak unless you have signed in, and we're going to take presenters in the order that they do sign in. I will call names and have you come up to the podium, and also a person on deck will sit over there nearby so we can go through each of the presentations quickly. I do ask that everyone keep their comments, points relevant to the cases at hand and not talk about other developments, for instance. And then also, we ask that each presenter refrain from being overly repetitive. So ideally, sometimes we have people that will just reiterate the same thing over and over again. So if you do concur with somebody that presented before you, you can certainly say that you concur with them, but then move on to new points if you could. All right. Next thing on the agenda is our continuances and withdrawals. We have 2 petitions that have withdrawn. Those are 2025-73-Z, an initial filing with Pulte Homes, a rezoning for parish PUD townhomes that has been withdrawn, as well as 2025-76-PP, initial filing for Ryan Homes, the enclave at Heritage Station. We need to have a vote to accept those withdrawals or just move on, Mike?
Acknowledge them.
Okay. All right, so we have acknowledged those. Then we have a number of requests for continuance. With the Plan Commission's support, I would like to just read through the titles of each one of these and then in one vote agree to have those continued. I'm seeing nods. All right, so 2026-01-PPA initial filing for Sam Scheidler, Zionsville Place Lot 2 Primary Plat Amendment is being continued to the May 18th, 2026 meeting. The 2026-02-DP initial filing, Sam Scheidler, Zionsville Self-Storage Phase 3 is being continued to the May 18th, 2026 meeting. 2026-03-DP, Scott Martin, Meineke Auto Service Center is being continued to the May 18th, 2026 meeting. 2026-04-PP, initial filing, JB Partners LLC, Walnut Run Primary Plat is being continued to, I assume the May 18th? Okay, May 18th, 2026 meeting. And then lastly is the 2026-05-DP, JB Partners Walnut Run Development Plan is also being continued to the the May 18th, 2026 meeting. We need
Yeah, before we vote, I would just point out that the last 2 from JB Partners are being continued by staff, whereas the first 3 are being continued by petitioner.
Thanks for that clarification, Nick. So we need a motion to accept these continuances.
So moved.
Second. All right, it's been moved by Kendrick and seconded by Nikki. All in favor say aye. Aye. That passes. Okay, we're going to move on then to continued business to be heard. First up is the Crew Car Wash Incorporated, which is 2025-78-DP. We will ask staff if there's a presentation, start with that. and- Yes, sir.
Before you start, I just want to acknowledge for the petitioner and the audience that according to our rules of procedure, the petitioner's comments are limited to 10 minutes, speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and petitioner's rebuttal is limited to 5 minutes. Thank you.
If I could have my screen promoted, please. Thank you. As mentioned, the petition under consideration this time is for a development plan for a crew car wash to be located up at Appaloosa Crossing. On the screen is the location map showing the subject site. For orientation, Michigan Road is here to the west of the site. North of that is the shops at Appaloosa Crossing. Immediately to the south of the subject site is the Hoosier Wine and Spirits. And to the east is a common area drainage feature, but then also the towns at Appaloosa Crossing behind. This site, from a zoning standpoint, is within the rural general business district and also the rural Michigan Road overlay. Should be noted that earlier today, the town council approved an amendment to the Michigan Road overlay allowing automatic car washes as a permitted use with the following standards which will apply to the subject site as it is within 1,000 feet of residential uses. The additional standards that were included in the amendment to the Michigan Road overlay is the daily hours of operation will be limited to between 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. local time. All washing, waxing, machine drying, detailing, and related activities and operations shall be conducted entirely within an enclosed building with a vehicular entrance not exceeding 14 feet in width and 11 feet in height. No more than 18 customer-operated vacuums are permitted, and their operation shall be subject to the hours of operation noted above. We're going to pause on this item simply because the proposal before you does not propose 18. It has a smaller number, but that was the item that town council included in their adoption today. And the last item is that the automatic car wash and its permitted ancillary uses shall not exceed 60 decibels measured at any point on the property line. So the project description is that the proposed crew car wash development would include 4 stacking lanes in this area, feeding into a single lane building of approximately 5,764 square feet with 8 related vacuum bays on the south side of the building. Site ingress and egress would be from Appaloosa Crossing. Again, Michigan Road is here to the west of the site. To gain access, turn onto Trekener Way, which is one of the main entries into Appaloosa Crossing. Then to access into the car wash, you come in this first entry, go through the stacking lanes, circle through, and proceed through the building in this manner. At the end of that building, have the option to either leave the site or circle back around into the vacuum bay areas. Regardless, this entry would be the only way to exit the site, as this is both ways in. I believe that the petitioner may want to correct me if I'm wrong on that, please. The petitioner has submitted compliant plans for landscaping, lighting, and signage. I would like to point out on the lighting, there are 3 different types of lighting features proposed for the site. We have site lighting, which is going to be around the perimeter. There would then be wall sconces mounted on the walls of the building, and then there are going to be some under canopy lights that are proposed. I apologize to the petitioner. I did not note this until I reread the staff report earlier today. The site, this is the design or the cut sheet for the site lighting, but the wall sconces that the spec sheet has been provided, these do not match what is depicted on the building elevations. What is depicted on the building elevations are more of a gooseneck design, which would be consistent with other light fixtures in the area. Staff would prefer the gooseneck as opposed to the wall sconce that is depicted here. And this would be the light that is under the canopy. Signage has also been included in the package.
compliant signage, I should say, including the proposed monument sign, which will be located on the site. This design is consistent and matches with a master signage program that was done a couple of years ago for all monument signs at Appaloosa Crossing. They came through specifically for that back, I believe, in 20 or 22. But again, this sign is compliant with that design, which was approved at that time. Here are some standard wall signs. There are a couple of topics of interest that I want to point out to the commission. First of all, as mentioned, the subject site is within the rural Michigan Road overlay and is therefore subject to the overlay's architectural design requirements that detail what is commonly referred to as the Zionsville theme. The zoning ordinance provides, though, that the Plan Commission may grant waivers of the architectural design requirements and approve the proposed design subject to the following findings: that the architectural design represents an innovative use of building materials or design or site design features which will not be detrimental to the use or value of area properties. The proposed building is appropriate when compared to the architecture, design, and overall exterior character of other buildings on the site and surrounding sites. The building design is consistent with and compatible with other development located along the street. And finally, the proposed building is consistent with the intent and purpose of this character. Should be noted from a historical standpoint, when the very first building at Appaloosa Crossing came in, they requested a waiver from the Zionsville theme standard to somewhat establish an Appaloosa theme. The property had been owned by the Harris family, and there had been a family barn on the property. They were wanting to pay some form of homage to that barn that was important to the family. So they requested that all future development somewhat match this agrarian feel or design. So every building that has come in from Appaloosa Crossing has requested this same waiver from the Zionsville theme so that they could then incorporate the Appaloosa theme. So this request is not different than any other development plan that has been brought before the Plan Commission that's been out at Appaloosa Crossing. So the architectural waiver is one item of interest. Second item of interest I wanted to point out, and forgive me, I'll point out here are the building elevations that are being proposed. Second item that I wanted to point out is that the proposed site plan includes, I'm going to zoom in here real quick because I outlined it with the red bubble, a sound barrier wall to be constructed on the east end of the site between two proposed curb cuts on Appaloosa Drive. No details of the sound barrier wall have been provided to staff for review, but the location of the sound barrier wall, which would be considered a structure, is currently within the front yard setback, which is not permitted. This wall could be moved to go along this interior curb line, and at that point it would be outside of the front yard. So staff is requesting, first of all, some details on the proposed wall, but then it be relocated so that it is not within the required front yard. Finally, going back to the lighting for the development, the most recent development plan approvals in Appaloosa Crossing have all included the condition that exterior lighting be automatically dimmed to 50% by 10 p.m. Staff would recommend that this also be incorporated onto this project. I would note that again, going back to what was approved by the Town Council this morning, operating hours would go until 9 p.m. So I don't know if you would want to adjust this proposed limitation on lighting to kick in at 9 p.m. or if 10 p.m. is acceptable, but regardless, staff would suggest that same requirement for dimming the exterior lighting be applied to this development plan as well. I'll be glad to answer, staff supports the approval of the requested architectural building design waiver, and staff also recognizes that there are some items to be addressed or clarified by the petitioner. However, staff's position is favorable to a conditional approval of the petition, subject to the resolution of comments within the attached comment letter, which is part of the staff report, clarification of a door enclosure of the trash dumpster area. On one drawing, it shows that to be an overhead door. On another drawing, it shows it to be open doors, something gated. Just need clarification on that. Staff really does not have a preference on that, but that does need to be clarified. Third item, relocation of the sound barrier wall to not encroach into the required front yard setback. And finally, the reduction of the site lighting by 50% at 10 p.m., consistent with site lighting sequence operations, which were described within the staff report. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
One question I have, Roger, thank you very much for that. With this wall, when you say it being moved, where it's kind of curved in on each end, would your expectation be that that curved part meets the front of that section? Does that leave enough room?
They would need to remove the curved portion.
Okay.
It would need, because there just is not a lot of room along that curb line to stay outside of the front yard. A sound barrier wall could be constructed there, but not with the wings that are shown.
Okay.
So
And that's it, okay.
I was just going to say, so the same overall length, is that what you're asking for?
Yes, sir.
But just a straight wall and move to the curb line?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is there an acoustic value to having those wings on that, or is that?
I'm not a sound engineer, but I would presume there are benefits to that. But again, that is going to increase the depth of the wall to a dimension that would not fit within the area that's available for it.
Yeah, it does offer a pretty good amount of deviation from sound rather than, it does direct it pretty well with the
Kind of
curves.
my thing is
It
we're
is.
pushing sound back onto the side,
Correct, yeah,
essentially.
rather than just pushing it out where it can still kind of go, it actually pushes it back into the site, which kind of is the purpose of it.
Is there a height to it that we know?
I don't have that, but I'm sure the petitioner will be able to provide that information.
Give us a chance here in just a moment. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, just while we're still on the wall, I assume there's like building standards, construction materials, that sort of thing, or is this kind of going to be a special?
Again, staff has not been provided details on this. We would presume it is going to match the exterior building materials of the main building.
Okay.
To be complementary, not only in color and material, but also materials.
Okay.
Okay. I think any further comments that I have at least can wait until after the petitioner's presented. Does anyone else need to comment with, or ask questions of staff? Okay. All right. Kyle, you have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Plan Commission, and if my screen can be promoted, please. Good evening, members of the Plan Commission. Kyle Russaterritz with Denton's 10 West Market Street, Suite 2700 in Indianapolis. Happy to be here this evening. On behalf of Crew Car Wash, also joined this evening by Billy Schauming, President of Crew, Travis Smith, Director of Real Estate and Development, and Catherine Rayner, Development Project Manager. Additionally, we have Nick Ketcher, our engineer with Kimley Horn, and collectively we can answer your questions about operational and engineering questions. As you know, Crew Car Wash is a modern-day car wash, a family-owned business since 1948. Crew Car Wash strives to be a clean, fast, and friendly operation. Most notably, was just ranked #1 in Glassdoor's best places to work. Crew Car Wash is proposing an automatic car wash, as Roger outlined in Outlot F within the Appaloosa Crossing subdivision. As an update, as Roger noted, the town council approved a text amendment this morning to allow for automatic car washes within that Michigan Road overlay. Of course, the appropriate underlying zoning district has to exist, which it does, the general business district, which would also permit the automatic car washes. Thank you to the Plan Commission for sending a favorable recommendation to the town council at last month's meeting for that text amendment. The regulations that Roger listed with respect to daily operations, all washing, waxing, machine drying, detailing, and the like must be conducted entirely within a closed building, will be the limitations on the proposed crew site, as well as Roger noted, the limitation of the number of vacuums will be well met. The proposed number, as Roger outlined, of 8 vacuum sites is actually being reduced to a total of 7 vacuums at the proposed site. And the automatic car wash and its permitted ancillary uses may not exceed 60 dBA, decibels A, measured at any property line. All of those provisions or standards outlined within that text amendment will be a requirement of the crew car wash as proposed at Appaloosa Crossing. I think we're working on a technology. Glitch here. Can you all see that okay? Thank you so much. As Roger reviewed, as an overview of the proposal, we include those 4 stacking lanes feeding into a single lane building of approximately 5,700 square feet. As outlined just a moment ago, we have removed the 8th vacuum stall and located the curb and a small landscaping island closer to the building here to allow, most importantly, for that wall, as previously noted, for that wall to move to the west and fall within the building setback line. We have kept both the proposed width of the wall and kept also that proposed curvature. By eliminating that 8th vacuum bay, we have maintained that same distance from the exit of the car wash to the curb and the wall there. This will be an 8-foot masonry wall made of the same materials and aesthetically complementary to the building as proposed. And as I said, will sit within the building setback. Site ingress and egress would be from Appaloosa Drive, as Roger described. We offer an enhanced landscaping package, and I'll call to your attention a few improvements as compared to the landscaping package that staff offered this evening and has reviewed in response to staff's comments issued in their report of last, I believe, Thursday it was. We have added landscaping both to the west and the east of the proposed wall, as well as additional landscaping on the eastern side, and also additional landscaping along the northern perimeter of the site. All of this landscaping here, the northern perimeter, and then surrounding the wall was absent from the proposed site plan and landscaping plan as included in the package. This was both in response to some of the staff comments as well as in an effort to further enhance the landscaping and help the site meet the sound dampening requirements to meet the new text amendment of the Michigan Road overlay. The architecture of the building would follow that agrarian aesthetic established by the original developer of Appaloosa Crossing, is found in practically all of the Appaloosa Crossing projects. As Roger offered, this would be a waiver of the Zionsville theme, consistent with all of the other Appaloosa Crossing approvals to date. The architecture used would be mostly limestone 2 with midnight slate charcoal gray canopies, applied to each of the facades, overhead doors, and windows. I offer and draw to your attention one comment in the staff report, particularly on the east elevation of the location of the dumpster area. There was a question in the staff report of the doors that would be utilized in the dumpster area. This will actually be a roll-up overhead door, and the dumpster enclosure will be located inside of the building as opposed to an opening set of doors. So that was an outstanding comment that needed to be resolved from the staff report issued again last week. As Crew has been operating and evolving its operational enhancements, we will offer again the 7 vacuums installed adjacent to the site, as opposed to, as you'll see in many other Crew locations around the perimeter or adjacent to a perimeter wall. We have located the vacuums directly along the building facade in an effort to better buffer noise concerns. And as I already offered, a reduction in the number. This 8-foot wall will be constructed directly in front of the exit door, again, better buffering the noise and providing an additional visual buffer for anyone viewing the site directly there from the east. As a staff comment, this will be, again, moved further from the east as already offered. We certainly appreciate the staff's support as offered in their staff comments. We would ask the Plan Commission to conditionally approve the development plan as presented in our packet as modified this evening, conditionally approved based on off of the findings of fact as presented, which I incorporate by this reference. Resolution of the comments in the, which is Exhibit 5, as Roger mentioned. I've already offered a response to several of the other conditions, including the clarification of the door enclosure of the trash dumpster area, the relocation of the sound barrier, and what I will also offer is that the petitioner is agreeable to and actually supports the proposed lighting order of operations, most importantly, the reduction of site lighting by 50% at 10 p.m., consistent with that order of operations. I want to reiterate this for the Plan Commission because I think it's important both for the Plan Commission as well as some residents who may be in the audience this evening. Site lighting will be directed by photocell technology, turn on 100% based off of that photocell. Site lighting will then dim to 50% at 10 p.m. Site lighting will increase back to 100% based off of any motion detection that happens after 10 p.m.
1 minute.
At any point when that motion has ceased for a time duration of 15 minutes, the photocell technology will dim the lights back to 50%, and then of course the lights will turn off based off of photocell technology when the sun comes up. There were also some comments with respect to hours of operation. What I will offer as Plan Commission consideration with respect to hours of operation, we will, the petitioner will follow those proposed in the text amendment, but as many of us in the room know as users of Crew Car Wash, that the hours in that 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. time slot are only used during those spring, summer, and early fall months during the daylight savings time when there's actually sunlight for users of the car wash. So ultimately in the late fall, winter, early spring, the Crew Car Wash would have limited hours only until 8 p.m. So thank you for your time this evening.
All right, are there questions for the petitioner?
What is the overall highest point of this structure? Like the tallest, how tall is the tallest building?
Overall, the overall height is, forgive me, I just had that one moment ago.
saying to the top of the tower, 35 feet, plus the small cupola on top.
You know, I was just trying to look for a height to that,
Yeah, I was trying.
total peak, which I was missing. Do you know the top to that peak? Yeah. I agree, Roger, with the 35 feet. There's a small addition to the highest point there, that Commissioner Davis, that I don't have the total height there.
Okay. And I can see on one of the plans that it's like 4.5 feet on top of the 35. I just could not find, I apologize, I couldn't find the overall, so, okay, thank you.
I will look during any public comments, see if we can find that exact number.
Craig?
Yeah, I just, with regards to the 60 decibels, that's kind of been the thing that's been standing out. I guess with regards to the use of drying, the dryers, we're talking about 60 decibels, that's why we're adding the wall. I guess I just want somebody, for the record, to tell me about the 1,000 foot from the residential. Is that a confirmed requirement for this use?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do we have confirmation that this will be 1,000 feet from residential?
I don't know that.
No,
So a point of-
it's
okay.
not 1,000 feet from residential. It's if there's a car wash within 1,000 feet of residential, those additional standards will apply, and this is definitely within 1,000 feet of residential uses.
So it's within 1,000 feet.
The dark skies and other provisions are required.
Yes.
The sound limitations kick in when it's within 1,000.
Commissioner Melton, the approximate distance to the nearest, what I'll refer to as Pulte Townhouse in Appaloosa Crossing is approximately 175 to 220 feet based off of a GIS measurement. The closest residence to the west, on the west side of 421 to the rear lot line is approximately 700 feet, 750 feet or so. So we are well within the 1,000 foot parameters that sort of kick in these additional provisions as Brad just offered there. And if I may, just to follow up the tallest side, that's 4.5 feet on addition to that top. So it'd be 39.5 feet would be the tallest peak there.
Okay, because I see on what we were given, it's really under the first rendering that kind of has the colors of the crew car wash, the red, orange, and yellow. On a standard elevation, it shows 35 feet. You know how it's usually capped at the top?
Yeah, flat.
So the flat is 35, but we've added the peak to that, and we've added on top of that peak. Is that reflected correctly? I've come into the Appaloosa, so my concern is that the cap is normally 35, but we've added a pretty tall peak and then another 4.5 foot on top of that. You know, is that gonna make this a 50-foot tall overall, or?
If I may direct your attention to Exhibit 4, the building elevations, and
Do you know?
Would like this.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
probably about halfway through your staff
Exhibit 4,
report.
Okay, yep.
on the upper right side of the drawing,
Yep.
you'll see that indication says TO Tower, top of
Yes.
tower. And it's labeled at 135 feet, but that is also presuming the slab is starting at 100 feet. So you subtract the 100 off of each of those, the top of tower height is going to be 35 feet.
And then
And
the
then
top
small-
of that
and
is
then the
about
small
4.5
cupola on
feet.
top of that.
And I think it was Exhibit 4, the page right before that of page, which includes the east and west elevations. You'll see a measurement on top of, again, as Rogers mentioned, TO Tower, top of tower. If you move to your left, you'll see a measurement of
I
that
got it,
peak there,
perfect.
4.5 feet.
Thank you. Sorry, I could not see that on my screen. Thank you.
Some other questions for the petitioner?
Is there a specific component of the car wash that produces or primarily contributes to the noise? Is it the dryers or is it the car wash as a whole? Can we identify like what's producing the most noise?
Yeah, the production of the most noise is the internal dryers of the building. The other largest noise producer would be the external vacuums, to the extent that all of them are being utilized at any given one point for that, a duration of time.
Like the curved wall and the additional landscaping has been introduced to address the noise level. I
That's
appreciate
correct.
it. Yeah, thank you.
That's correct.
Those vacuums are not on full-time, they only turn on during use, correct?
Turn on during use, yes.
Talking about the external vacuums?
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause I know
the-
there are some car washes where they're just on all the time, so.
I guess likewise, the dryers are on when the door is open as somebody exits. That's why we need the sound barrier and the extra landscaping. I guess as I'm talking about exterior landscaping, and then we've talked about other projects, seems like other developers have come and offered more robust landscaping for the neighboring property. I was looking at this development, and it looks like there's a pond to the east of this property with kind of a tail of the pond having some kind of, I don't know, looks like a little bit of real estate that could have plantings on it, but I'm not sure of that. But I just didn't know if that was something that this developer had looked into to kind of soften the blow of some of the additional noise that's potentially here. Is that something that you've looked at? As I look at the subject property across from that, it seems like there's potential for tree plantings in that lower portion of that pond area. But I don't know if it's actually in a drainage utility easement where it's not plantable. I don't know if you can see something on that.
If my screen could be promoted, I do have the aerial photo up, just to make sure we're talking about the same location.
And Craig, as Roger's pulling that up, I note that on the kind of southwest corner of that drainage pond, the existing pond, there is a line of what appears to be wooden ballards for safety reasons, presumably for pedestrians, vehicles to not go over the edge there. To answer your question, the developer has not explored that with the owner of that lot, which, off of my own recollection, is the master developer of Appaloosa Crossing to this moment. And presumably, that would be common area at some point for Appaloosa Crossing.
I just offer that as a potential. Go ahead. Did you get it or?
No. If my screen could be promoted, please. Thank you. Thank you. So again, for orientation, here is obviously the subject site. And Mr. Melton, I presume you're talking about this parcel? That is a drainage feature that provides a lot of retention for different portions of Appaloosa Crossing. There's even you can see a slight swale right through this area. And here's the other end of the culvert that comes out here. So there may be some areas through here, but this entire area would not be available for plantings because of the swale. But there could be, and it would be a negotiation with the property owner, because this is a common area for Appaloosa Crossing.
That means they're gonna have to maintain it and ongoing maintenance, et cetera. I just see that as a potential offering should the noise continue to be an issue here. I guess we can all agree that having the 60 decibel requirement is great. But I guess in my eyes, as I know a little bit about mechanics and things, you know, sometimes things are a little bit louder, sometimes as things are failing, they get loud, et cetera. And I just looked at that property and I thought, well, that might be an opportunity since it is vacant, however, it's, designated for drainage, that it could be a potential source for another buffering from the residential. So that's all. I'm just going to leave that here for you all to consider, and we'll move on.
Has the sound barrier been used on any of the other projects, and has it been tested as to how much buffering it actually provides?
Yeah, it's a great question. It has been utilized. There's a existing operating crew car wash at the intersection of 146th Street and River Road in Noblesville, a relatively new property, a beautiful property. It is actually adjacent to a residential community. There are, it's a significant apartment complex. It also borders several single-family residences. That has an existing, excuse me, feedback there. That has an existing 4 to 5 foot wall. As I can acknowledge, I'm not vertically inclined, and if I'm standing right next to the wall, I can see over the wall. In that instance, the vacuums, of which there are 8, are located directly adjacent inside of the wall, and in that instance, forgive me, I have a photo here. So if my screen can be promoted here, that would just be easier instead of me playing charades here. They're located inside the wall. So all of these properties surrounding the real estate are residential properties, some apartments, some single family. So you can see this wall right here, brick masonry wall. There are actually 8 bays of vacuums. You enter from the west of the site, very similar actually to Appaloosa in its layout. You queue, traveling south, turn around, enter from the south. This is 146th Street. This is River Road. You enter into the car wash. You exit out of this area here, and in that instance, you can turn east or west or travel to park in a bay. I went and tested the decibels today, and in fact stood where my cursor stands right here, sort of standing on the curb of this median with a decibel reader as vehicles exited the car wash, and the maximum dBA reading that I had on my decibel reading device was about 78, ranged from about 72 to about 78 as the garage door opened and closed and the vacuum was running, depending on if it was just one car exiting or multiple cars back-to-back exiting. I then visited the other side of the wall. As we recall, this wall is about 5 feet or so. The proposed wall at Appaloosa Crossing is 8 feet. Traveled to the other side of the wall, stood on this sidewalk. As cars exited, the decibel reading ranged from 57 to 61 decibels. So that was a drop of 18 to 20 decibels by a mere 20 feet or so, and a wall, and I will call to your attention, almost no landscaping on either side of the wall. And as I was doing the decibel reading on the north side of the wall, on this sidewalk, there were multiple vacuums running as well. So again, just to draw some distinction, at the Appaloosa site, this wall will be much closer. This wall is about 100 to 115 feet away from the exit here. The wall in Appaloosa Crossing will be approximately 45 feet. So to 45-ish feet to the exit, and then all of these vacuums, of which there will only be 7 as opposed to 8, will be along this wall as opposed to along this wall. So a few different answers to one simple question there, but we saw a significant drop in the reading as thanks to one implementation of a wall, particularly an implementation next to residential uses. So given the items we've learned there and the enhancements planned at Appaloosa Crossing, there's a great deal of confidence that 60 decibels will be at the property line as required by the Zionsville ordinance will be well met.
Other questions?
Last question on the wall, hopefully. Has there been any thought to taking the bricks and staggering them so that they provide some sort of texture that would provide some more sound deafening? For example, going brick and then sideways brick, and then that would kind of give it like that eggshell effect that kind of helps with some sound dampening? Or, I mean, the texture brick's definitely going to help. I'm afraid we're amplifying sound and then pushing it back onto the site, and it could push back to the townhome some, but I was just thinking that would help with some of the sound dampening if we textured that wall in some fashion.
Yeah, the design of the wall continues to improve, and that is an improvement that crew will make. To answer your question, it has not been considered at this point, but the petitioner will consider that. Given the distance those townhomes are, really ultimately any bouncing back and forth of that sound is. I'm not a sound engineer, but it's
On the furthest thing from it.
it's really not how it works from what I have learned through this process. I'll actually add an interesting anecdote here that as I was reading these decibel readings, as I was on the north side of this access road, and this is it's very analogous site to the Appaloosa site. You have a very well-traveled road of 146th Street. A well-traveled access road for into the site, not too dissimilar to Appaloosa Drive here. As I was on the north side of the street on this sidewalk, right where my cursor was, doors opening and closing, multiple vacuums on, decibel reading active, 50 decibels. As we learned this morning at the town council meeting, I think it was Councilor Norris, commenting about his thoughts on what a Google search renders for 60 decibels. This conversation's louder than 60 decibels if you're standing right next to it. Quiet dishwasher if you're standing right next to it. 50 decibels is much quieter than that. But basically, when you're just standing, give or take 150 feet away, the ambient noise of the travel of 146th Street or the ambient noise of 421 Michigan Road, those traveling to grab a margarita, to stop by the gas station, to visit the liquor store, to grab a coffee, that just ambient noise is already going to be at that 50, 55, 60 decibel, 60 decibel reading depending on time of day and otherwise.
Did the height of the wall get mentioned yet? I know that came up earlier.
8-foot wall.
8 foot, okay, thank you.
I will certainly not be able to see over that one.
Anyone else? I was going to mention a couple of things. So this is more of a question for staff. It's like just, recognize that the sign package that's in this does not really match the architecture. Does that cause any issues for you? Do we need to have that as a condition of the approval that this gets updated, or?
Correct. It would be best to have the sign package superimposed on the building elevations for this specific site, because the sign package that was provided is somewhat of their standard on their standard building. And again, what we're looking at is not one of their standard buildings, so it would be best to have the sign package presented on this building elevation.
In regards to the sign package, also is that the southwesternmost corner of the site is where the ground sign is likely or is being proposed, which is also where we have some fairly dense landscaping. So I'm just asking the petitioner, are we to expect some changes to the landscaping, or is that really the location? and the landscaping package. They seem in conflict with each other. Just want to make sure that it's accurate.
As you can infer from the fact that the sign package hasn't been fully updated by to meet the renderings, the sign package will need to be fully updated, which I agree with either the condition or the comment from Roger, that it will need to be updated to reflect the new architecture. I believe the location of the monument sign, yes, there'll be in the southwest corner. That will need to be, that will likely be the location of the sign, and the enhanced landscaping will have to be modified to circle around that. On the visual aspect of the signage along 421, as you might expect from a commercial aspect, is the most critical. Those are the two most critical signage elements for access and visibility to the end user.
Are we not approving this landscaping as presented? So do they have wiggle room to modify the landscaping after tonight? I'm just want to make sure ducks are in a row.
Okay, first of all, the monument signs, I'm referring back to the monument sign package that was approved for Appaloosa Crossing, the master signage program. All monument signs also require landscaping to be around their base. So I would envision, since I've only seen the updated landscaping plan as you did tonight, I would presume that even though the monument sign will be located in the southwestern corner of the site with the landscaping that's required of the monument sign, I would suspect it's still going to comply. Some of the plantings may slightly change in location, but the requirements of the ordinance of both the master signage package that was approved and the Michigan Road overlay landscaping standards, those I would envision that they will be complied with.
Okay.
And petitioner is fine with a condition of, the number and density of landscaping as reflected in the plans will be reflected in the ultimate development to the extent that anything needs to relocate as Roger just described.
Okay. And just this is a note I'm asking staff. There's a preliminary floor plan, which we normally don't get involved in at all, but it does not reflect the drawings elsewhere. So is that also an issue that we just asked to have dropped out of this package? Or for one, it's a mirror image. Two, it doesn't have the little bump out. Three, it doesn't have the dumpster enclosure included in it. So it's just, there's three pieces of that floor plan in Exhibit 4 that are not reflected elsewhere in the plan.
Because the Plan Commission is not typically concerned about floor plans and interior workings of a building, you're more, the development plan is more closely aligned to what the exterior of the building is going to appear as and how it fits. I would suggest we drop the floor plan out of this package then.
Yeah, I would strike that page, honestly. It just doesn't have relevance to what we're approving tonight.
Thank you.
The last thing I just want to bring up is, even though you're 100% in compliance with the tree plantings, there's, I think you propose hackberry trees, which just in an urban environment, they thrive well. They do well in urban environments, but they also drop fruit that is just not pleasant. I just want you to be aware of that, and and suggest maybe picking a different species. They're also a weak tree that topples, branches break out of regularly, which again, that's the downside of them, but they'll survive anywhere. They're like weeds, but they are a weak tree, so it may just not be the best fit. I would maybe include in our motion that they can substitute hackberry for something more suitable. Anyone else?
Audience?
All right. I think we need a motion. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. All right, so if anyone that has signed up, let's see. We've got 3 people, it looks like. We're going to take them in order, and again, 3 minutes. Andrew Fagan, you're first, and then Travis Smith will be on deck.
Thank you. My name is Andrew Fagan. I live at 3269 Moore Ave in the subdivision that we're talking about here, right behind it. And I just wanted to come and say I'm opposed to a car wash being built there at the entry of our neighborhood. Acoustic sounds and environmental impact was one main thing, and I heard about the trees in the wall, and that's great if it works. Good. I'm more concerned about the traffic that it creates on Appaloosa. The cross traffic as you're coming into the neighborhood, there's a stop sign, but there's nothing on Appaloosa that stops. And I'm seeing as a resident with more development and restaurants going in there, I'm seeing more cars just speeding through those intersections. And I'm concerned that this is going to create more traffic on that street and create greater safety concerns. And I'm also concerned about property values of the residences back there and whether or not this will be something that will contribute or deter to increase property values. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Travis Smith. Is he here? Oh. And then Billy? I'm here. Okay. He did a wonderful job. Okay. Perfect. All right. So that completes our sign-in sheet. All right, now we can deliberate and have motions. Opportunity. Rebuttal. Yeah, Kyle, do you want to speak to that? I gotta get my cheat sheet out again.
Gentleman from just raised 3 concerns. We've spoke on the first one. Council in amending the text amendment has considered this as a permitted use. That would address the third one. As far as traffic in Appaloosa, the petitioner had submitted a traffic study as part of its development plan. And in fact, the proposed traffic study reduces the traffic as compared to the original traffic study in the approved Appaloosa Crossing subdivision. So happy to answer any questions that the Plan Commission has. And as always, thank you for your time tonight.
All right, thank you, Kyle. All right, Plan Commission, deliberation.
And just to address the comment made, I agree that the traffic back there on that road, folks get pretty carried away with their speed. So I would say too, you can request maybe a little extra patrol out there. That would be very fair to request for that area. I've seen what you're saying, so.
Roger, was there anything that DPW brought up about transportation and additional volumes of traffic, stop signs, anything like that?
No, as Mr. Reseteris mentioned, early in the process, an updated traffic study was done. Going back to the original approvals for Appaloosa Crossing, an overall traffic study was prepared and submitted at that time, and it was updated in response to the proposed car wash facility. And DPW reviewed it, and there were no comments requiring adjustments or anything of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
President Johnson, if I can just add,
Yes.
There was one comment about the gooseneck wall sconces, the differentiation between what's shown on the plans and then the spec sheet. The drawing showing the gooseneck wall sconces is the accurate architectural design, and petitioner we'll certainly provide the spec sheet to staff to recognize that. So that was just the only other open item that staff offered in introductory comments that I wanted to close the loop on. Thank you.
All right. You can take a seat, Kyle, if you would like.
And again, last question, just watching the town council meeting, I know it's been brought up a couple times throughout the process of the text amendment, that sort of thing. As far as who is going to police the sound pollution, can staff kind of advise those who may be watching or are present that are curious about that? Can you kind of explain what that looks like?
I would respond that our department, the planning department, responds to complaints. We're not actively looking for zoning violations, but if we do receive a complaint, then we're obligated to look into that and respond.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mike, I didn't quite catch what you said. Planning department is responsible for enforcement?
Yes, we are. And if we receive a complaint, then we'll go out there and confirm whether or not there's a violation of the sound ordinance.
I believe the original text amendment that was brought before us had a 65 decibel dBA, and we had reduced it to 60. So at 60, I feel pretty comfortable. It's honestly a pretty good number.
I don't think we need to get into a technical discussion about decibel reading devices and whether or not they're properly calibrated and where we're standing when the measurements are taken. So I think this is like, if we approve this, the noise is gonna be there, and I don't think we're gonna be taking consistent measurements. It sounds like we'd only respond to that if there's a complaint. So I think we need to be mindful of that. Does this limit that is being proposed in this petition is 80? Is that correct? What's the threshold? 60.
60.
Okay, I heard Kyle speak that in certain, I know it's a different development, in different places. In the Noblesville crew, there was 78 and 72, but I mean, I've gotten out of speeding tickets or represented clients that you question the officer on the stand, is your, zapper properly calibrated and where you positioned. So I think that's all kind of a waste of energy. I'm all for this development, and I think it's a good producer of jobs in our community. It's a business with a good reputation. I think it'll be an asset to our community.
Yeah, and to kind of go along with that, I mean, I'm very frequently at the Aldi there in Whitestown, and the crew that is there, that door where the dryers are, where cars exit, directly at the front doors of Aldi, and I've never walked out or stood in the parking lot and had a conversation and been distracted by the dryers. So that's kind of where I'm coming from when I look at the sound and that sort of thing, is the practicality of it's never been an annoyance. I know I'm just like, you're walking from your car into Aldi, but with it being literally directed straight out there, now really my concern toward it kind of goes to an 8-foot wall, an 8-foot white wall that is just along, this road that's going to be severely out of place, a little bit interesting of a shape, is that really just going to turn into a point of graffiti, a blank slate for, for kids from the townhomes to come over and spray paint, or, is it just going to look really oddly out of place? Would we be better suited potentially looking at replacing that with, maybe some landscaping that maybe, I don't know, what sort of decibels landscaping removes, or, how it, kind of distributes the sound when the trees hit. I know, growing up in Seattle, evergreens really do cover a lot of, mask a lot of noise. So, I mean, just kind of throwing that out there as an option rather than just a whitewashed wall. If we're already setting a limit at 60, does it make sense to replace a random masonry wall with maybe some nicer, more mature landscaping to begin with, in that spot? Because that regulation is there regardless, unless they're saying we have to have this wall to hit that. I think that just looks really bad right there.
I think I'd like to see some mature landscaping there too, but the problem with mature landscaping is a tree, for every inch of diameter of a tree, it takes about a year for that tree to recover from the transplant shock. So you're looking at putting maybe, I understand like some nice hardy evergreens, good chance they're not going to survive. And then we're going to end up with dead trees there.
Yeah, the revised plan had landscaping on both sides of the wall, didn't it?
Yes.
It does?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's not going to be a ripe target for graffiti because it's going to be behind a wall of vegetation as well. I mean, to me, it makes sense to at least have the sound barricade to protect the townhomes to the east. And, I mean, it's up to them to also maintain the aesthetic of their property, and I think it behooves them to do that. Just the optics of a business that lets the character deteriorate is just not a good,
Yeah.
good for
And I mean,
business.
historically, you can look around there, you know,
Yeah,
and when they presented, you know, last month or whatever, 2 months ago maybe, they do a good job of keeping up on their facilities, so.
so we have talked about wall texture, we've talked about wall sconces, we've talked about movement of the wall, accepting that change, dumpster enclosure, getting that commitment, revised, just accepting the revised site plan that was not in our packet with 7 vacuums instead of 8. The sign package, requesting that be in line with the new architecture, and then possible tree substitution, giving them the ability to substitute trees. Are there any other items that maybe needs to make its way into the motion?
Brad, one other thing that I've noticed with the Whitestown crew is that in the wintertime, it becomes like an ice skating rink just outside of the parking, just outside of the car wash. And I guess, being on the council, we can make a call in to DPW and ask them, hey, can you guys throw some salt down here? I guess DPW is going to come out when there's an event, not necessarily when water from a particular business is being spread out onto a street. The gentleman earlier talked about safety concerns from a traffic standpoint, and I think kind of tying those things together, I just wanted to kind of have that conversation. The Whitestown facility has a little bit of a hill as you pull out, so when that's icy and slick, you're sliding into potentially traffic. I think it's going to be less of a scenario here from the standpoint of the hill, the slope, the slight slope as you would enter into traffic there. But I guess I would just ask that, we consider this, it is a planning thing that we have to talk about. I don't know, I don't have any documentation of how many accidents have occurred there, but I personally have slid myself coming out of Aldi based on the wet pavement. And again, I don't know whose responsibility it is to salt the wet pavement on a street that is, well, to me, it makes sense that the DPW's responsibility to do that street. However, it's being caused by the business. So I don't know. I just kind of want to lean that back to you as a topic that is creating issues out there. But again, slightly different elevation change. So I don't know if you.
I myself have slid through that as well. So, and then in you saying that brought up a good point. Was anything said from DPW about where the placement of this wall is in association to pulling out? Is that going to create any sort of visual barriers or anything like that?
I think that might be why it needs to be pulled back.
Okay.
So.
One of the standards of design is called a vision triangle, and that's one reason why the wall exactly needs to be pulled back to get outside of any vision triangle.
Is there a certain footage you can see from that triangle and from this plan, or is that just it needs to be moved all the way up like you were talking about?
There are diagrams regarding design, and I've got to believe that our required front yard setback is designed with that in mind. So as long as this is meeting the required front yard setback, I've got to believe this would be outside of that vision triangle.
Okay.
I have witnessed what Mr. Melton and Mr. Davis have mentioned about what areas coming out of car washes, and it had been prepared to make that comment until I realized it's not a straight shot out of the exit. They have to make a turn to make another turn. So I think my personal assessment was there would be enough drip time coming off of those cars as they even make their way to the exit, that their slick problem will largely remain on their own property. Because in Whitestown, as you described, that is straight out on whatever that connecting road is.
Or the problem with the one over here that it's actually, I think it's in Zionsville, but we're going to call it Whitestown. That's right where, I noticed it over the winter. It's right where Whitestown and Zionsville, Whitestown's street control takes over just past that. And then this is Zionsville side of it. I drove through there several times through the winter, and you would see one side clear and the other side hadn't even been touched yet. So maybe some clarification with DPW as to who's responsible to take care of that area would probably be pertinent to bring up at some point, so. I just saw it several times going to get tacos this winter that one side was perfectly clear, the other side you hit, and all of a sudden hadn't even been touched yet, so.
Thank you for not telling us which side had not been touched.
Not saying a word.
All right. We have a motion one way or the other.
I move that the waiver of architectural building design requirements be approved based on public testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing and findings in the staff report, Exhibit 7.
Second.
Moved and seconded. So the motion is to accept it as presented with no modifications. Is that,
Well, the first, we have to get the waiver approved
oh, the
first,
waiver
right?
just by itself. Gotcha. All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, thank you.
Yeah, for the second part of this, I know there's 4 items there that we have already discussed and I believe acknowledged. So unless there are any additions or clarifications, can I read this as is, or do I need to make some edits to the text?
Unfortunately, I think there are several edits,
Yeah.
which is why I didn't make a motion 10 minutes ago. Maybe 15 minutes ago.
Well, and just because I think I know this question will be answered, maybe it should be, or question will be asked in the future with crew closing at 9 PM. I'm assuming they need 10 PM to allow the staff to leave safely under full lighting, et cetera. I'm getting a thumbs up, so that's yes. So that's why the extra hour. I just wanted to make sure that was stated. So, and then as far as the relocation of the sound barrier wall, not to encroach, Roger, I believe you said that pushing it all the way forward will remove kind of the ears at the end of the wall. Is that correct?
But they have corrected the design by reducing the number of vacuum bays from 8 down to 7. They've created enough area now that they can still utilize those wing walls on the end of that.
Okay, which I think will be is nice to have. So thank you.
I think the motion there is to accept the revised architectural or site plan, which goes from 8 to 7 and then moves the wall.
Somebody else want to take it?
And again, I'll just remind everyone, it's the architectural lighting dimming at 10, it's the architectural design requirements, which we just waived, wall texture. I think Josh had brought up adding texture to that sound barrier will actually dissipate sound better. Wall sconces, recognizing that all of the wall sconces need to be the goosenecks. The dumpster enclosure having a roll-up door. The sign package needs to be updated as a condition of approval. The tree substitution option, and then if there's anything regarding ice outside the car wash. I think those are the ones that I noted. Is there any others?
Not in my recollection.
Okay. Someone want to take a stab at it?
Mr. Johnson, I don't know that any rule precludes you from making a motion.
I second Mr. Hurst.
All right.
Updated sign, I missed these first.
Textured
Updated
wall.
sign package, textured wall, sconces, dumpster enclosure.
Think-
Four big ones, I don't think we need to address.
Nick's warming up to it.
What was your first, on your list over there, Brad?
The dimming, staff had suggested 9 or 10. 10 is what we've been consistently approving, so it's just affirming that we would have the lighting on the site dimming to 50% at 10 PM.
We have that on the list here already, though. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I think that's it. All right. You started it, buddy.
I know, yeah, I know. I move that petition number 2025-78-DP, development plan, approval of an automatic car wash on Outlot F of Appaloosa Crossing, be conditionally approved based on the findings of fact as presented with conditions as noted in the staff report and subject to dimming of exterior lighting by 10 PM, no later than 10 PM. Textured sound barrier wall be included in the site plan. Wall sconces be included as discussed during the planning commission meeting. And the dumpster enclosure being, I acknowledge that it was clarified that it is an overhead roll door and the dumpster is enclosed inside the building. And finally, that there be an updated sign package.
Just accepting the new site plan that they presented
And
tonight.
accepting the site plan as presented.
Second.
Subject to conditions.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. That DP is approved. All right. Moving on to 2025-88-DP, Pittman Investors LLC, the Farm Grocery Store. Staff, do you want to do a preliminary presentation?
Yes, thank you, sorry. If we could promote staff's laptop, Roger's laptop first, please. Thanks. This is for the farm, a specialty grocery store located at the farm PUD. Here's the site within the PUD itself. The PUD encompasses all of this area along Michigan Road, Sycamore. Within the village core use block of the farm PUD, grocery stores are permitted uses. You can see, again, this is Michigan Road, Sycamore Street. These are previously approved retail businesses and previously approved multifamily. And this entire area inside here will be additional retail with this spot right here noted as the grocery store. Grocery store is going to be 26,000 square feet, and with the associated, there we go, parking and landscaping meets the ordinance as required. They're giving a few extra parking spaces than required, so that's all to the good because everybody needs to go get their French toast fixins before a storm. That noted on the site plan is a future retail that will be to the north of the proposed grocery store. In your packet, staff report are probably some better visuals on the architecture, but you can see that the architecture is contains the articulation and the appropriate building materials, stucco finish and cast stone, which are permitted by the PUD. And the colors along the primary primary entrances are front entrances and secondary entrances are side and rear. So the elevations as presented do meet those standards within the PUD. And just a couple of extra renderings of what the grocery would look like here in color. So this would be facing Michigan Road, from Michigan Road into the site, and a different angle from that same, and then the kind of the backside, the rear view from Pittman Farms Drive as it drives around. The proposal was considered at TAC. There are no outstanding technical issues or items to be resolved. Signage was not included for review, so that will need to come back for a future date. And staff is recommending approval based on the findings of fact. And I am happy to answer questions or turn it over to the petitioner.
Thank you, Jody. Before we have Mr. Pittman present any further information, just wanted to acknowledge that we did have a remonstrator request a continuance based on some proposed changes, but I believe all of those changes have been retracted and are no longer a part of this application. It's actually the same proposal that we had before us a month ago. So we are not going to consider a continuance for this project because the project has not changed. All right, Mr. Pittman.
Hello and good evening. For the record, my name is Steve Pittman. I'm with Pittman Investors. Our offices are at 9589 Valparaiso Court. With me tonight are Sam Pittman, Wayne Falstad with Pittman Investors, Buzz Wiziger, who oversees all of our construction and online listing if needed. Our architect from New Dell, architect Jim Jewett, is with us. You know, it's interesting, as I prepared for this, I pulled out this book of that this PUD was approved almost 13 years ago. And so we're excited to be here back to move further along with this project. And I also found, previous to this, as we're coming forward tonight for a 26,000 square foot upscale boutique grocery store, previous to this on this same site, we had a development plan approved for a Kroger Fresh Fare for 60,000 feet. So it's not a 60,000 square foot store, it's a 26,000 square foot store. When you look at this site, I'll just start off here. I love looking at these aerial photographs. Here you can see 421 as a major highway, referred to as United States Highway 421. We put in stoplight, pedestrian crosswalks. It's a major intersection. Just to the south of our entryway there, we placed a bank. That's Stockyards Bank that should be opening soon. We didn't need to put the bank there, but we thought it was appropriate as it was closest to residential uses to keep not have a restaurant or anything that's going to be create any noises or odors. As you move along the frontage there on the Michigan Road corridor, we have about 40,000 square feet of buildings that we have built and are 100% leased, and the tenants are still building out their spaces and getting ready to open up. And on the far side along Sycamore Road there, just 2 months ago, you approved, maybe 3 months ago, a 13,000 square foot building up against Sycamore. And that received a lot of scrutiny, rightfully so, as it was right on the perimeter of our site. But to give you an idea, that 13,000 square foot outbuilding you approved, this is about 2 times that size, so it's not a very big building. Also, as we mentioned earlier, you can see the apartments to the west. This initial PUD was about 62 acres. At the very west side of those apartments, part of our proposal, PUD was estate residential. We got that approved for 6 lots. We've since have sold that, done the multifamily, came up here on Sycamore in Michigan, started the retail, and now we're going into the what we call the Village Core use block. As staff said, this is the Village Core use block. It's currently a vacant piece of property. Proposed land use is retail commercial. We're having a grocer, and it's 3.5 acres. This development plan is consistent with the intent and purpose of the comprehensive plan. This development plan does satisfy the development requirements in the Zionsville zoning ordinance, and the DP does comply with the development standards and requirements for DP approval. When you look at our site plan again, as I discussed earlier, you can see the buildings that have been approved and are built. You see the one that's under construction. In the shaded area, you can see our building. It's, once again, 26,000 feet. It's on 3.51 acres. When you look at, when you look at it from a lot of different angles, if you look at it from Pittman Farms Drive, It's actually really hard to see it because you got about a 15, 16-foot grade difference, and you'll have significant trees going up that bank to the building. But we'll show you some of those view sheds. As it says at the bottom of the screen, this is 60% smaller than what is allowed in the PUD and what was already approved. In addition, just because I heard the conversation about the crew car wash, the height of the building, I think that one maybe was up to 39 feet. At the height of our building, we're at 30 feet, the highest articulation, and we dropped down to 25 feet. And just for your reference, 50 feet is allowed. So we're not getting anywhere near what is allowed. This is just showing our landscape plan, significantly landscaped around, in addition to a wall on the south end of the building where we're having, you won't be able to see the trash pickup area or the truck dock area. We're just showing we've put a lot of attention to detail of what type of plant material we want, how it grows, color schemes, things like that. Calling out the different trees that our landscape plan calls for. We were glad to see, Brad, that there were no hackberries. So now I want to talk a little about the building and what we tried to accomplish. So first of all, it had to be a very beautiful building, not only for us, but for our tenant. It had to meet all the requirements of our PUD, and we wanted to match up with not only our retail buildings, but the buildings in the back, the multifamily buildings. We're not allowing any company to do their traditional corporate architecture. So we wanted warm, earthy tones and materials, and I'll start with the limestone block that we're using. I won't go into a lot of detail other than it provides durability, permanence, and a strong connection to Indiana architectural tradition. We have a wood look metal panels. It's the second material you see there, which is really consistent with what we've done in other parts of the project. Once again, it's a warm, natural appearance, and it's going to really look good on that building in relation to the other buildings. We're complementing that with natural tone stucco, and there at the very bottom, you can't see it real well, but dark metal canopies and storefront systems, significant window systems, and it's going to really be attractive. I'll quickly go through these. I've got some blow-ups of these that I'll show in more detail, but once again, you can see the articulation in our building. You can see the overhang, protect people from the weather. The tenant can show their goods there. At the high point of that store, you're at 30 feet, and you can see how it drops down to 25 feet. Here you get an angle, a side view from the parking lot. You can see where the recessed areas for the truck dock area. So just south of that truck dock, we'll have an 8-foot wall. In addition to that, as the truck dock recesses, it drops 4 feet. So you have 12 feet of cover, which is pretty significant. And then next to that, you see a wall right along an outdoor eating area for this grocery store. Down the lower area, if you were looking out on Silo Crossing, you look back at our grocery store, and once again, it's not very imposing, looks pretty insignificant. You can see some of the landscaping. And also when you're looking from the Silo Crossing, when you come in the corner off of Michigan Road, you have significant green space, open space, and a lot of tree canopy. This again is just a 2D black and white angle. I'll just stick on this for a minute because I got better exhibits. But when you look at this, you basically are seeing the warm wood panel. Actually, it's metal, but looks like a wood panel where we'll have the name of the specialty grocery store. You'll have the limestone down lower with the limestone pilasters and then stucco. That's on the front as you're looking at it. Then on the south end, you can see the same material, the pilasters, the walls that are protecting the trash areas and the truck area. And on the north side, same thing, but you're not going to be able to really see portions of that because we're going to have a building adjacent to it. So you won't see probably the front half of that. And then, of course, the west elevation, there'll be a building behind that as well that will face the apartments. Without getting a lot of detail here, the screening was very important for us. I talked about the 8-foot wall and the 4-foot grade change, and you can just see from Pittman Farms Drive that grade change you're going to have there, and the landscaping is going to be difficult to see. And then also on the west, where you see all that green space, that'll be another structure at another time, but we don't have anything on that now. This gets into the economic impact, which I don't think is important to you all as you know, from a planning standpoint, but obviously high-quality job creation, strong tax base, increased local spending retention. And I will tell you, all of our tenants, all of our neighbors, the community at large has been super excited.
1 minute.
Has been super excited, that scared me. Has been super excited about this, and I've been telling people for about 6 months, we're on the 1 yard line. We're on the 1 yard line. So it's taken a while to get here, a lot of work and a long time, but I think people are very excited. We're in proposed use, we're in compliance, bulk standards compliance, height compliance, setbacks compliance, landscaping compliance, lighting, parking, pedestrian, architecture, stormwater, utility access, everything that you could look at from a DP approval process, we're in compliance. Thank you very much. And if you want to look at any of these more blown up slides later time, I'm glad to share that with you. Thank you.
You. Plan Commission, do you have any questions for the petitioner before we open it up for public hearing?
Does the sign package come back through Plan Commission, or is that just you and staff because it's a PUD? How does that work?
That would be up to you guys if you want to approve it with the condition that signage is approved by staff. That would be acceptable to staff.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Just to be clear, so the trucks that would come to just bring, I guess, the groceries to the grocery store, they use the exact same entrance as, okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
In addition to that, they only anticipate maybe 3 deliveries a week, so it's very low.
What, do you have any anticipation of what's going to go in kind of that elbow shape that's left there in between these two? Because I know from what we can see, it
You talking
shows
right here?
Yeah, that'll be behind the grocery store.
Oh, this area back here?
Yes, that back there, yeah.
You know, I've talked to a couple different users. You know, if you ask me right now, what do I think? I'm thinking it'll be $1 million plus residential, $1 million to $1.5 million former residential townhome, really beautiful project.
And then in the center area, that 5.6 acre, do you kind of foresee something specific going in there, it being divided up further?
Well, one of our goals is to get a very upscale restaurant on the far north end. And then the area in between, we've talked about a lot of different things of you know, maybe, and it varies when you talk to the tenants. You know, some high-end, we've talked about trying to get some clothing stores that would come out there. Besides a high-end restaurant, we've got a really cool concept that's going in the building that's under construction right now. But you know, we don't want to continue getting a lot of eating places.
Yeah. And just in some feedback overall with the overall PUD, I know some folks that obviously love and enjoy eating there, but have already started not going there because of parking.
Mm-hmm.
So just some
Yeah.
feedback there that.
Yeah, as far as the parking goes, so we're having a lot of construction going on because when we turn over a space to the tenant, they have to build out their space. There's a lot of construction traffic that's taking up the parking until that gets all built out, and we're getting close. In addition to that, once we cross that street and we start putting in all that parking, you will have, you know, we have more parking than we need at the grocery store. We put in some temporary parking up, but we'll have a lot more parking. And by the way, I personally like, if we are going to have a problem, I like the problem of parking being an issue because it means people are loving the place.
Right, yeah.
All right, any further questions? Do we have a sign-in sheet? Perfect. All right, I'm going to open up the public hearing at 8:07. We've got three names, Al Worthwin, is that right? And then same name again, but as an individual. Oh, so, okay, I'm sorry. One is the HOA. Al, are you here? Okay. If you can come up, and then also speaking as an individual. Staff, remind me, what's our time
3 minutes.
for an HOA, though?
Oh,
5?
just,
5?
It's not 5?
it's just speakers. Speakers are allocated 5, or 3, excuse me.
I
thought a group could have 5.
Just give me, yeah.
Yeah, individual speakers, 3 minutes. Persons representing a group get 5.
Okay. So we'll start off with your representation of the HOA, which is a 5-minute time. Thank you.
So this was written earlier today prior to the meeting. Good evening, my name's Al Worthwine. I'm a homeowner at 940 Tilson Drive, which is an adjacent southern and directly affected property. I grew up in the area, and I remember when the farm was a farm. First, I would like to thank the Plan Commission for its time tonight. Here on behalf of members of the Timber Ridge HOA, to reiterate a request for continuation as a remonstrator regarding 2025-88-DP. The requests have been posted online, and to respect the sanctity of time, I don't intend to speak much longer. There are numerous flaws and deficiencies with this DP, and even if recent potential plans to increase the square footage from 26,000 to 30,000 square feet have been abandoned, we are still requesting a continuation. The petitioner had 2 prior continuation requests granted. Hopefully we will have ours granted as well. Other recent remonstrator continuation requests were approved for different DPs. Again, this request is not solely based on an increase in square footage. More time is needed to ensure an accurate, complete, and helpful position to the council. To be transparent, the intent is not to recommend a denial. Thoughtful development is welcomed. However, due to the DP's uniqueness and inconsistencies with past, current, and future plan development at this location, additional dialogue is needed. It is possible certain items for discussion have not been considered by the petitioner, staff, or Plan Commission. We look forward to presenting those hopefully at the next available regular Plan Commission meeting in May. Again, thank you for your time and consideration this evening. And that concludes the group speaking.
Thank you. And do you want to speak for just yourself as well?
I do, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to continue, then we can restart the clock. It's a 3-minute time frame. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, my name is Al Worthwine in the Timber Ridge neighborhood, directly south of the farm. Born and bred Hoosier. I grew up in Carmel from the 1980s onward, so I've seen firsthand how that city changed with massive development. Just a couple points I'd like to make as an individual. While grocery stores are permitted, the road impact fee estimate request on page 64 of the petition, initial filing materials, does not list hours of general operation. It does not include anticipated deliveries or other site support services. This information should be required by the tenant and/or pitman now, not in the future. For something as extremely important as this, shell filing should not be acceptable. It is common knowledge grocery stores many times receive daily deliveries outside of normal operating business hours. There's potential for nuisances to occur during nightly 2 a.m. deliveries. The proposed side of the loading dock is south-facing towards Timber Ridge neighborhood. Obviously, Pittman wants to prioritize on-site residential and commercial tenants. However, this feels like a slap in the face to Timber Ridge. Just like the Stockyards Bank approval, the comprehensive plan never showed any structures south of Pittman Farms Drive. The bank was added at a later date and approved. Additionally, based on road impact fee estimate and respective drawings and diagrams, i.e. truck turn northeast approach, page 62 and 63, massive semi-trucks, which are already quite loud, appear to only have the capability to reverse into the loading dock, thus creating additional noise nuisances such as audible reverse beeping and idling. Where is the proof and evidence of acceptance of these schematics by the Public Works and Fire Department? No other businesses at the farm receive or have the capability to receive tractor-trailer, semi-truck deliveries.
1 minute.
The loading dock should only be approved at a rear-facing location, which would be west, not south, towards the neighborhood. This specialty grocery store is unique due to its inherent operating days and hours. Contractors, construction companies, and their workers have numerously, knowingly, and wantonly ignored Zionsville's construction noise rule. It has been violated before 7 a.m., past 7 p.m., and on the no-work Sundays. There are now more businesses and residential tenants at the farm. This DP impacts far more than just the Timber Ridge neighborhood. There needs to be some sound barriers, as discussed with the Crew Car Wash earlier, as well as other protocols for mitigating and limiting construction dust. None of these appear to have been acted during prior builds on site where codes possibly violated. Again, we are not saying, I am not saying the proposal should be denied in full, just that some of these potential issues be addressed.
Thank you. All right, per our rules and procedures, we ask the petitioner to come back up to the podium and have any last words in rebuttal.
Yeah, I would just say a couple things. He mentioned that the truck loading area is facing to the south, and it's not facing to the south, it's facing to the east. And it's buffered, and we paid very careful attention to how we respected and worked with the neighborhood. I think he's a new property owner there of 2024. So a lot of work went with them. And one of the things that they loved that we did, if you look, we initially had planned on putting buildings south of that road, and we took all the buildings south of the road that would have been even closer. In fact, let me get that up. If you look at our plan, we had planned some buildings south of that road, and the neighbors asked us if we would not put any buildings south of that road, which we didn't do. We didn't put anything south of the road, and we protected that entire area. So the buffer that we have between that building and just that back property line, not even their homes, is well over the length of a football field. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we've been very respectful of that buffer. And as far as road impact fees, on all these projects, there's significant road impact fees that will be paid. A&F Engineering, that is the town's consultant, is also our consultant, does all those calculations, and we pay whatever those are. And honestly, that's not the amount of money that we pay in road impact fees is not anything that I've ever talked about at one of these meetings. And but I would encourage anyone here that wants to know more about that to contact either DPW or A&F Engineering to look at their calculations and how they do that. I don't know if have I left anything out?
Hours of deliveries, hours of operation.
Yeah, the hours of operation will be from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And in terms of deliveries, they're typically during the day. But Sam, do you have any more information on that, the deliveries? Okay, but we're talking about three trucks a week. So yeah.
Those in that window of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.?
Most likely. Also, the other thing, just to comment, it wasn't brought up, but the way that we're lighting all of this, that it goes down to 0-foot candles at the street, so there's no lighting spillage over to the south either.
Any questions?
From looking at the picture, I just want to make sure when we are looking directly at the building, the left-hand side is that bay that he's talking about. Is there another wall that then buffers that neighborhood, or is there?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's a great question. So as you can see on the far left-hand side of the building, we have a wall there that separates the outdoor eating area. And then beyond that, you have another wall where the trucks will back down. That wall's 8 foot tall. And then as they back down, it's a ramp that goes down an additional 4 feet. So you're going to have 12 feet of cover. I mean, there's really no better way that I know of that you could buffer what we're doing.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none. Steve, you can take a seat and we'll close the public hearing at 9:17. Staff has asked me to try to announce the time, so that's what I'm going to try to keep remembering to do. So, public hearing is closed. Any deliberation? Plan Commission. All right, so for the public's information, the development plan review process, we are significantly limited as a plan commission. We do not have, when a project meets all of the zoning regulations and there's no, overwhelming need to make a modification or ask for a modification, even that is a little bit gray area, is that in a lot of communities, development plan approvals are done administratively by staff. We choose to do that in a public setting by the Plan Commission. As you maybe sat through our earlier presentation, we can ask for some minor revisions, but we really don't have the ability to just absolutely say no to a project. In this particular project has been on the books for over a decade. As far as the proposal, the concept of it, as was in the presentation, I think we started off with a 60,000 square foot building with the rear of it, and the loading docks and all of that stuff would likely have been on that south side, similar to what this is being proposed. And 60,000 to 26,000 square feet is a major shift in the right direction. But I want to hear any further conversations from staff or from Plan Commission members as to your thoughts on it, and if none, then let's get a motion.
I remember the first, in 2013, it had 4 loading docks, I think, for the original building. I could be wrong, but yeah, this is significantly smaller than what was originally presented to us in 2013. This whole project's changed a lot since then. I think this is a great fit for the location. Are you ready for a motion, or?
I will bring up that we did have the petitioner or the remonstrator ask for a continuance. We should probably at least decide if that is something we want to entertain or not.
I don't.
This has been on the books for several months. There was no direct specific concerns brought up. I don't see a need to do a continuance at this time.
Yeah, there's been a lot of consideration taken by the Pittmans in that development in order to be as respectful as possible to the neighbors of the south. So, yeah.
Yeah, from the original PUD, this is dramatically better than what it would have been.
Yeah. Well, are you good for a motion? Okay. I move the docket number 2025-88-DP development plan for a 26,000 square foot specialty grocer and associated site amenities in the village core use block of the farm PUD be approved based on the findings in the staff report and the staff recommendations and submitted findings of fact.
Second. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Thank you very
Motion
much. Appreciate
carries.
it.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have 2025-90-DP Astral Heights LLC, the learning experience. Staff, do you want to do a preliminary overview?
Yes, please, and if my screen could be promoted? Thank you. As mentioned, this petition is for approval of a development plan for a 10,880 square foot, two-story child's daycare facility with related parking areas and outdoor play areas. On the screen, whoops, we need to promote my screen, please. Thank you. Provided is a location map that shows the subject site is on the southwest corner of Michigan Road and Templin Road. Templin is on the west side of Michigan Road. The road name changes to Greenfield Road on the east side, but it is this location. The zoning of the site is B1, business, urban B1, which is one of the business districts, an urban neighborhood business district. It is also within the Michigan Road overlay. Petitioner proposes to construct the daycare facility with outdoor play areas, which would be located on the west side of the building. Again, for orientation, this is Michigan Road, and Templin or Greenfield is here on the north. This would be the west side of the site that backs up to Lost Run Farms, and again, the play areas would be here in the rear. Vehicular access onto the site would include one access point from Templin Road and another from Michigan Road. Both of these would be right in, right out only. The perimeter and greenbelt landscaping will be provided. It should be noted that the petitioner received approval from the approval of 4 development standards variances for this project. The first variance was the elimination of the foundation plantings along the north side of the building and on the south and west sides. This allows for the installation of a sidewalk and fence adjacent to the building, with the foundation plantings being relocated directly outside of the fence features, and that's within the urban Michigan Road overlay. Variance number 2 was a reduction of the minimum lot area requirement from 2 acres down to 1.29 acres, as required by the urban MRO. The third variance was a reduction of the minimum front setback of 30 feet along US 421 to 7 feet. And finally, the fourth variance was a reduction of the green belt of 30 feet along Michigan Road to 7 feet, which is a requirement of the MRO. Again, this is the site plan. They've also provided landscape plan, which this was part of the review of the Board of Zoning Appeals grant of the variances. The landscape plan remains essentially unchanged from that. This is the lighting photometric for the site, which is compliant. Again, we've been provided light fixtures, cut sheets. Both these were the parking area lights, and these would be the mounted wall packs on the building. Again, this site is within the Michigan Road overlay, the urban Michigan Road overlay, and the zoning ordinance addresses architectural design requirements within the urban MRO. The project's architect has provided a letter, which is Exhibit 5 of the staff report, explaining how the design and materials meet the standards of the urban MRO. Staff believes that the building's design and selection of exterior building materials has met the standards of the MRO. So unlike the previous project we discussed earlier tonight that required waivers of architectural standards, this building does not require those waivers. There's signage that has been provided as a part of the package. The signage does comply with the requirements. Signage includes not only signage on the front of the building, but then also on one of the sides, and then also a monument sign, which is shown here, which would be located on the southwestern corner of the site. The details of the proposed trash enclosure have been provided. The materials would match, materials and color would match that of the building. Staff recommends conditional approval of the development plan, subject to the resolution of remaining items noted within the town engineer's comment letter, which is Exhibit 6 of the staff report. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
All right, any questions for staff?
Roger, there was a traffic study done. I didn't see it as part of our report. Is that correct?
You're correct. A traffic study was done, and thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I apologize, it was not included within the staff report. The traffic study was submitted and provided to NDOT. NDOT came back with essentially two recommendations. Let me go back to the site plan to further elaborate what those recommendations were. The two are the same. They recommended medians be installed both on what is shown here as Templin Road and an extension of the existing median that is on Michigan Road. They wanted the extension to go a little bit further south on Michigan Road. That is to prevent any northbound traffic from being able to make a left-hand turn onto the site. The median that is proposed for Templin Road was intended to prevent any westbound traffic to make a left-hand turn onto the site. Again, both points of vehicular access, this on Templin Road and the one on Michigan Road, would be right in, right out only.
Thank you. Is the median design done, or is that one of those things that is still being worked on?
It is what has been proposed by the petitioner. Again, NDOT's recommended that. DPW has accepted that recommendation, and the petitioner has included that within this proposal.
Sheet L1, Exhibit 4, in the bottom right-hand corner, I don't know what page that is, looks like page 36 maybe. There is drawings that show the medians.
And these medians have been designed. They are shown on the
Okay.
site plan.
Of all the things I'm bad at, reading the site plans is tough for me. So thank you. I'll take a look at that and think about that while I give other people an opportunity.
Any other questions for staff? All right. Mr. Resiteritz, is that accurately pronounced enough? Sorry if I messed that up, but you've got the floor.
Good evening again, Plan Commission. For the record, Kyle Resiteritz with Denton's 10 West Market Street, Suite 2700 in Indianapolis. Thanks for your time this evening. Here, on behalf of my client, Astral Heights LLC, in attendance with me are Brian Foxworthy and Del DeMeo, members of the development teams of Agent Development and DeMeo Retail. We also have members of the engineering team from Kimley Horn, as well as in person and as well as virtually a member of the architecture team from Jarmel Architects. The developer has signed a long-term lease with the Learning Experience. Originally started by the Weissman family, who boast over 40 years of experience in the child care industry, TLE is one of the fastest growing early child care education franchisors in the United States. TLE offers daycare programs for children from 6 weeks old to 5 years old using a proprietary curriculum. TLE children, based on an MIT study entering kindergarten, outperform peers at other preschools by almost 20 points higher than the national average. TLE nationally has over 50,000 students enrolled, approximately 400 plus open locations, and another 200 plus under development. There are 6 or more operating or under development in the greater Indianapolis area, those being in Fishers, Westfield, Noblesville, Center Grove, Plainfield, and Brownsburg. The TLE real estate model is based on a turnkey, approximately 10,000 square foot center touting safe, secure, and private access, security cameras, access to age-appropriate technology for their students, a spacious yet fenced-in secure playground with designated areas for infants, toddlers, and those preschoolers. This site in particular, as Mr. Kilmer offered, is a unique site. It's a challenging site of less than 2 acres at a unique intersection. The site previously obtained those 4 development standards that were already offered by staff from the Board of Zoning Appeals, receiving unanimous approval in November of 2025 on those requested petitions, which I've outlined here and have already been covered. In the interest of time, I will not review them again. The development plan before you this evening represents a 2-story, approximately 10,880 square foot daycare facility. The building itself is compliant with the Zionsville theme and a colonial style of architecture. The site will have 36 parking spaces, an outdoor play area to the west, which will be fully enclosed by a fence and will have ingress and egress on both Templin and Michigan Road to the site. As I phrase that, I want to make sure that the playground won't be accessed off of those roads, but the site will be accessed off of those 2 roads. The playground is fully enclosed and accessed off of the rear, the north and the south of the building. As part of the BZA process, the site too will have additional landscaping on site to provide appropriate buffers and further beautification of the property, as we certainly acknowledge this is a key corridor, a main and main type intersection in Zionsville. In fact, it's a prime location for the developer, my client, as well as the user in TLE, enjoying great visibility. It affords a great east and west connectivity between Carmel, Zionsville, and neighborhoods alike. Scored very well on high-performing nature from a TLE perspective, from a franchise perspective, and of course enjoys the benefits of strong incomes of the Zionsville general community. Boone County in early 2024 announced its receipt of a $70,000 planning grant to study aspects of childcare in Boone County. August 2022 study found that there were over 3,000 children in need of childcare in Boone County, with over only 1,000 seats available in Boone County. So a well-needed need, and as I acknowledge, this board often does not consider it economic impact, but I certainly acknowledge many members of this Plan Commission that childcare and child rearing and education is important to the Plan Commission. So I call that to your attention. We appreciate the staff report and honestly the dialogue over several months as we have fine-tuned the petition materials. We've finalized, there are a few items that need to be finalized as called out in the staff report, particularly resolution of a few items in the comment letter identified in Exhibit 6. But the project has vetted and provided inputs both from our engineering team at Kimley Horn, working closely with the town of Zionsville, and as Mr. Kilmer identified with INDOT as the project continues, certainly before any ILP issuance, that we acknowledge resolution of those items. In particular, as we've worked through comments with staff as well as comments through INDOT, that has included utility access, drainage, access to the site, that those medians on Templin and US 421. In fact, INDOT identified those as the one on Templin Road as a potential optional median, and identified it as a potential improvement in the future in the event that traffic issues did exist, particularly for traffic turning south off of Templin into the site. The developer, taking note of that potential concern seriously, has identified that as an improvement that they would like to make on day one, as opposed to on year 5, as the INDOT indicated. I would ask that the findings of fact, as the petitioner submitted, are incorporated by this reference into the record. Again, appreciate staff support as outlined in their staff report. I would ask respectfully that the Plan Commission conditionally approve the development plan as presented both by written and oral testimony this evening. The conditional approval being based on the findings of fact as submitted, staff's recommendation, and subject to resolution of the outstanding review items identified in that comment letter, as I noted in Exhibit 6. Pleased to answer any questions you have, again, about engineering or operational. I will call to your attention our architect is virtual. One of the reasons, both from an architectural perspective, we wanted her first name is Cheryl, to participate in this discussion is certainly if you have any questions from an architectural perspective. But most importantly, Jarmel Architects is well-versed in developing and designing the learning experience franchise locations. And so she can also speak to many of the operational questions that I would expect perhaps the Plan Commission might have about access, traffic, hours of operation, and the like, and some of sort of the nuances that a planning commission of yourself might have. So I just offer that as an opportunity to the extent that the Q&A renders that opportunity. I will say that hours of operation would be purely during the work week, the school week. Night hours are not available to TLE, as well as there are no weekend hours. Approximate enrollment is 165 students with, again, staffing for those students. And we appreciate your time and dialogue on this topic. I'll pause and welcome any questions that the Plan Commission has. Thank you.
All right. Any questions for the petitioner?
You may have just mentioned it, I might have missed it, but 165 student enrollment, how many staff?
It's 18 to 25 is the general standard. I think if it's okay with you, we might promote Cheryl to the screen. That would then leave, I believe, remove my visual from the screen, and she'd be able to communicate and answer that question. I think if that would be okay, Thomas, to promote Cheryl, please. And while we're waiting for that, Commissioner Plopper, the state rules on number of pupils versus teachers has just changed. So Cheryl, if you can hear us, please address the question.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Barely, but go ahead. Just maybe speak a little louder.
I'll speak up. So the question was the number of staff. So based on the current enrollment of the facility, we expect anywhere between 20 to 22 staff and administrators on site.
Okay. Additional questions?
What is the ratio? It was like, if I recall, when my kids were younger, it was like 6 to 1, 6 students to 1.
Yes, so the ratios are based on the ages. So the infants, it's a 1 to 4 ratio, and then, or 1 to 5 ratio, and then as they get older, that goes to 1 to 6 ratio, and then 1 to 8 ratio, with the oldest being the 1 to 11 and 1 to 13 ratios.
Thanks.
I note, it at least appeared to me in the staff report, the building occupancy was 165 pupils, but one could imagine that you ran 2 cohorts in a day, that twice as many students potentially are coming through than that. And if you further complicate it by saying there's, before school care and after school care, I mean, you could get a lot of transitions in and out with that 165. So I'm trying to understand mostly what got fed into the traffic study. What numbers got fed into the traffic study? How many trips are we making with this 165, as I read it anyway, building limit at one time?
Cheryl, can you speak to the relationship between the number of pupils of enrollment versus the number of pupils who may visit the site on a day-to-day basis of pickup and drop-off, because there is perhaps a difference between total enrollment and visitors per day, if that's a.
Sure.
No, I'm going to
Yeah.
parse
Okay,
it.
please.
Forgive me, I'm going to parse it a little more than that. Am I correct in that the building limit is 165 pupils?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay. And this is an absurd thing, but it will illustrate my point. If those 165 pupils change over every 1 hour, that's a lot of traffic, right? If they come at the beginning of the day and they leave at the end of the day, that's not much traffic. So where are we on that? And again, what got fed into the traffic study?
Go ahead, Cheryl.
Sure. So the enrollment is based on primarily full day or half day. But from my experience, and our firm has designed over 400 of these centers. We actually have a center next to our office, so I see firsthand how they operate. They don't do this exchange like you're mentioning, where if, say, someone's one pupil's half day, and then that space is then allotted to another pupil in the afternoon, it doesn't really work that way. They enroll it based on the number of available spots, which is the 165. So they would never have more than 165 enrolled at any one time. So a child attends the facility. Primarily, we see them full day. Some are half day. The curriculum for the learning experience is important to the growth of the children. So most of the children do attend a full day based on working parents' schedules. And as far as, trips coming in for pickup and drop off, there are peak times in the morning and peak times in the afternoon, as most parents use the facility at their own convenience. And what I mean by that is there's no set start time to school. So parent would bring their child at their convenience on their way to work, and then the same in the afternoon, picking up on their way home from work. And we find those hours in the morning are generally from, say, 7 a.m. till 9:30 a.m. And then in the afternoon, some pickups start as early as, say, 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and then go out until about 5:30, where they really drop off to the 6:30. Parents who have children in the public school system would pick up maybe their kid at the elementary school and then come and pick up their other child in this facility. We also see that there's a high percentage of siblings that attend the facility. So one car could bring as many as 2, sometimes 3 pupils at any one time. So that does also cut down on the trips to the facility.
Thank you for that understanding. Can someone tell me what the input was into the traffic study?
I'm sorry, I didn't prepare I didn't
Well,
personally
that-
prepare that, so.
Yeah, that may not be a you thing anyway, so
And Raul from Kimley Horn will speak to the inputs into the traffic study,
Okay.
to the back half of your question.
all right, thank you.
Good evening. So the input for the traffic study was number of pupils, and then we looked at just AM and PM peak hour because that's the busiest time of the day. So that essentially was the number of students is what we had inputted as.
Okay, so basically the 165.
Yes,
That
yeah.
we keep talking
Yes.
about. Okay, thank you
Thank
for
you.
that. Yeah.
With the assumption of 1 student per car, is that what I heard? So kind of worst-case scenario?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
That's what I understood. We've talked about, this is a strange lot, it's a difficult lot, it's a busy corner. Not asking for an answer right now, but I am thinking about asking a condition to limit the number of pupils, because we permit this to go forward. We'll just say you guys are no longer the operator 10 years from now, and somebody else just goes daycare and several ins and outs a day, and the model changes. So that is kind of where some of my traffic concern is coming from. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, it's an
Finish.
entirely different thing, so go ahead.
Well, mine was more just what exists between Michigan Road and those parking spots. My concern is you have little kids, and if mom has a baby carrier and a 2-year-old, and that kid darts into Michigan Road, is there any sort of short wall we could put, if there isn't one already, that buffers those parking spots from the road? And maybe there's enough distance that isn't necessary, but that's just a concern that I have with Michigan Road being such a busy road. And though the ages of the children that would be there are some that would dart even if mom's yelling stop.
There is no planned wall as proposed. It's enhanced landscaping along that eastern side. There is a significant, I won't use a qualifying term like that, but there is a elevation change from Michigan Road to the site that is noteworthy as you're walking Michigan Road there.
It's just a thought that it would only probably have to be 18 inches tall for kids that age, just along that one area of parking that could be beneficial potentially.
Is to pick up on what Nikki is asking, is it 100% that drop their kids off as they're driving through the parking lot, or are they actually parking and bringing their kids in?
Yeah, there is no queuing of vehicles. All drop-off is park, take your child out of the carrier or car seat, walk them to the door. In fact, the underlying zoning ordinance, the minimum parking spaces is for this site would be 21 parking spaces. This site is offering 36 in some, in recognition of this design. So we don't, for two reasons. One, we don't have this queuing, potentially then having that backup onto either of the two access points. But then, most importantly, we're sort of over parking, if you will, significantly, but in line with some of the other daycares along 421 that some of us may be aware of, to make sure that there's adequate parking during that kind of 3-hour drop-off window and 2.5 hour pickup window at the end of the day.
How many of the staff are there in the morning? Because they've already said there's going to be 20 to 24 staff members and 36 spaces. The math doesn't really dropping off 100 and some odd kids.
Cheryl, I know I have that number written down, but if you can offer an
Yeah.
answer, please.
Sure. So all the staff do not show up at the beginning of the day. As TLE is operating, they'll kind of find that groove of finding the correct number of staff to open the facility. It could start with a handful of staff, and as children show up, more staff shows up. And then the same is true at the end of the day. As children leave, staff also leaves. So there would always be available parking for parents doing the pickup and drop off. And we also find a lot of the staff uses ride share and other ways to access work and arrive to the site. They all don't arrive by their own vehicles.
I guess not to harp on this point, but the front of the building is going to be the location parents are going to want to drop off. And that is those are the parking spots that are facing Michigan Road. So.
Yep. Real quick, Brian Sheward, Kimley Horn & Associates. Offices at 500 East 96th Street, Suite 300. I'm the civil engineer on the project. Two quick things. I know you had asked about that east-facing, and I wanted to give a quick dimension. So it's about 40 feet of yard between, well, I shouldn't use the yard, carries a connotation. We're dedicating right-of-way because we have to from NDOT along Michigan Road. But from the edge of that parking stall to the travel way of Michigan Road, it's about 40 feet. So it's not, from me to you, it's some distance. So to me, as a parent myself, I feel like that's a little bit of distance there of yard, practically speaking. And then from a traffic perspective, you know, Raul's using the ITE manual, which is an industry standard for how you apply the distribution for different uses with number of pupils that bakes into kind of that on average distribution side. I know, Cheryl, you had mentioned with all your experience doing these, the target for TLE is around that 35 parking spaces, maybe a few more, and we're right at 36 in this case. So I would say 400 plus examples of that seems to be the right number for them. But as a conservative engineer, I also think, what if we do see more people coming in at a certain amount of time? And by way of, and I don't know if we have it, but by way of the site plan, if there was a case where there was queuing in the drive, you can fit 10 to 12 cars in the drive aisle that doesn't encroach or back up onto Michigan Road or onto Templin. So I tend to think of what happens if we see an anomaly on a day of the week, once or twice every few months. It's not going to be backing up into Templin, which is usually the concern that people have in developments like this, is how does it affect the public rights of way? So just wanted to throw those few things out. I'm happy to answer any other questions as well that are technical.
So you said 40 feet, is that the least distance?
Yes,
Because
that's
it
the
varies
north.
there with the turn lane.
That's the northeast corner of the parking lot, the closest I could find to the Michigan Road, kind of in the northeast corner of the site. And I could try to point it out if we had them.
I think it's the southeast. I mean, there's a row of parking spaces there that it's pretty close to the turn, or the
the turn
decel lane.
I apologize. Yeah, I can get you a dimension on that.
Yeah.
While he's finding that, just a quick question on, so the 165, is that total occupancy of the building, or is that kids plus the 20 to 22?
Probably a question for Cheryl.
Yeah, so that would be 165 kids plus 22 staff.
Thank you.
That's the max occupancy. And that's what is allowed based on the state licensing rules and the building code.
Answer you, from the edge of the curb of the turn lane to the parking, it's about 30 feet. So if you want to, depending on if you're measuring to the sidewalk or the travelway, I measured from the travelway, it's 30 feet.
What's the travelway?
I'm just saying from the curb.
Of the curb of the turn lane?
The curb of the turn lane.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, technically the travelway would probably be the through lane. I'm saying from the turn lane, from where cars will be on Michigan.
Yeah, I think that's where the concern is.
Where there would be an opportunity for an accident,
Yeah.
basically, from that point.
Yeah.
So picking up on a little bit of what Jim was questioning is, do we have enough parking for the number of students, for the volume that's coming in and coming out? We understand that your model for this particular franchise, it's fitting the target of what you do with other facilities. However, to Jim's point is that we don't always know. As Plan Commission, you got to get it right for not only this use, but also any possible future uses of this building. And communities do suffer through those transitions sometimes where a new tenant comes in and now they need 50 spaces, but they're just going to make do. And then that creates a problem for the neighbors and traffic congestion, that type of stuff. So that's one thing I think we have to think through here, is just making sure that we have the right amount of parking. I think that it was mentioned by Kyle that the zoning ordinance only requires a certain number for this particular use, but it could be, because it's general business, it could become other uses. So I have a question for staff, and that is, do we have any history at all of denying a proposed reuse of a site because it does not have the appropriate number of parking spaces, or do we only dial this in at the front end when we're approving a project like we are considering today?
Historically, in the time that I have been here, change of use does not initiate development plan review. So a use that has a higher standard or a number requiring more parking could move in if it's a permitted GB use.
Right.
And also permitted within the Michigan Road overlay. But I would caution, then we're going to be designing every project for the worst-case scenario.
And I'm not suggesting that either. I just want to kind of get the information out.
Well, and Brad, if I could interject, I
Yeah.
accept that you were being supportive and trying to surface more information to my concern. It's less parking and more literally traffic.
Yeah, it's the traffic side
It's
more
the
than the
traffic
parking.
side more than the parking side. That's increasingly a way people get into Zionsville.
Yeah.
And so that is more where my concern comes from. And again, I really don't have concerns. They did the traffic study at 165. They described the distribution. It's what happens if the use of that property becomes more than that? Right. And it's similar to the parking, yeah, okay, but if you design everything for the future, the worst it could be. I mean, I get that, but at least for a while, we might be able to ask for something to keep that contained. Not knowing if a remonstrator that wrote a letter is going to be here to do anything more than write the letter, can you explain the Chelsea Park HOA thing to me? Because I'm a little lost. Okay, we can either let her speak, or you can take well, she will have an opportunity to speak, forgive me.
Yes.
But you can either address it now or let her speak and then address it after. I just didn't know if I'd get anything more than the letter.
Going to wait for a rebuttal.
I'll respond with a comment here. Given that the Chelsea Park HOA letter included a list of concerns, I won't go one by one until rebuttal time. If I may, does staff have any comments on the?
I can narrow my question,
Okay,
which I think is
sure.
only fair.
Yeah, please.
Sanitary sewer.
Okay, sure. So there is a existing town sanitary, town of Zionsville, sanitary sewer, main located on the north side of Templin, on the west side of the entrance drive to the Chelsea Park subdivision. That is a public street as you enter into the Chelsea Park subdivision. There's an existing manhole. It sits just adjacent to the beautiful Chelsea Park sign. And as we were identifying the location for where the sanitary sewer system for the town of Zionsville that will serve this site should be located, in working with the town's engineer and engineering staff, it was identified that the sewer service connection point would be that manhole that is located within a publicly dedicated by plat easement from the original developer of the Chelsea Park subdivision, dedicated to the town of Zionsville to install and maintain sanitary sewer improvements. That connection point would, the ultimate service path would be down the south side of Templin, cross under Templin, and then connect to that manhole that sits within that dedicated easement. So the path of service will be will be either in a dedicated easement or in public right-of-way. Ultimately, we were informed by the Chelsea Park HOA legal representative, and then last week, and then ultimately received a letter of remonstration this morning, identifying that the Chelsea Park Board of Directors' position is that the town of Zionsville the dedicated easement to the town of Zionsville would not permit the sewer service connection point as proposed. Given our analysis of the situation and our dialogue with the town's engineering staff, we were instructed that the town's position is that that is the appropriate location, that is an appropriate location for the sanitary sewer connection, given it is an extension of the town of Zionsville sewer service network. I try to answer that as concisely as possible of my initial point. Happy to answer questions now or react.
I'll sit with that for a bit. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the public hearing portion. So we'll open the public hearing at 9:03. And we've got a number of interested parties that want to speak. Tracy Montgomery is up first, and then Ken Williams is on deck. After Ken will be Eric Pearson. 3 minutes. Mike will keep time. Thank you.
I'm the president of the Chelsea Park HOA, so I would ask for
5
5.
minutes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for listening to us. We have 2 big issues. One is the sewer, and I will go through that, but also the traffic. So we are in opposition to petition 2025-90-DP for inclusion in the record for the upcoming Plan Commission hearing. The proposed development seeks approval for that 2-story, I'll skip ahead. We oppose it due to the unlawful proposed sanitary sewer connection across Chelsea Park property, and 2, the adverse traffic impacts resulting from the right-in, right-out design and median configuration on Michigan Road and Templin Road. We looked at our plat, the secondary plat, Book 33, pages 29 to 34 of the Boone County Recorder. It's the only document establishing easements and dedications for the subdivision. It all confirms that all sanitary sewer easements, utility drainage, and sanitary easements are internal to Chelsea Park. No sanitary sewer easement crosses Templin Road. No easement extends to or benefits the daycare parcel. No cross-parcel utility corridor exists. So the daycare developer's parcel is completely outside the boundaries of all sanitary sewer easements shown on the recorded plat. Dedication, a dedicated easement does not create private access rights. The plat dedicates sanitary sewer easements solely to the town of Zionsville for public maintenance. This dedication does not grant rights to adjoining developers or property owners, does not authorize new connections across Chelsea Park property, does not create a shared utility easement or cross-parcel access, and does not empower the town to grant private developers access across Chelsea Park land. Dedication transfers maintenance authority, not property rights. The daycare developer's proposed connection is unlawful. The developer's plan set shows a tie-in to a sanitary sewer manhole located inside Chelsea Park, north of Templin Road. This connection is not permitted for the following reasons. No easement exists allowing the daycare developer to cross Chelsea Park property. The plat contains no recorded easement granting the daycare parcel any right to access, construct, or connect a sanitary sewer facility within Chelsea Park. The town cannot authorize a private connection across private land without a recorded easement. Dedication allows the town to maintain the sewer. It does not allow private developers to use Chelsea Park property without consent. Indiana law requires a recorded easement before any private party may construct or connect utilities across land they do not own. The proposed connection point is not located within any public right-of-way. Rather, it lies entirely within Chelsea Park-owned land. And 4, the recorded plat expressly confines all sanitary sewer infrastructure to Chelsea Park's internal system. Any attempt to proceed without a recorded easement would constitute an unauthorized encroachment. Now, the traffic impact. In addition to the sewer issue, Chelsea Park opposes the current site design due to the significant traffic and safety concerns. The right-in, right-out design creates unintended traffic diversion. The developer proposes the right-in, right-out access at both Michigan Road and Templin Road with the new medians installed at both locations. However, as a result of the two right-in, right-out access points, drivers wishing to enter daycare traveling northbound on Michigan Road or westbound on Greenfield will have no legal, logical way to do so. Likely driver behavior, because of this design, drivers will predictably use the Chelsea Park entrance as a U-turn point or cut through the Pembridge Lane, a no-outlet cul-de-sac, to reverse direction. This diversion of traffic into Chelsea Park creates increased volume on residential streets not designed for through traffic, higher risk to pedestrians, including children walking or biking, congestion and visibility issues at the neighborhood entrance, safety hazards on Pembridge Lane, which was never intended to serve as a turnaround or cut-through route. This is, in fact, turning us into a commuter street. One of the beautiful things about our property, it's a very small community. We have lots of small children. We have children that have to go to the entrance to catch the bus. So if you can imagine having a lot of parents who are in a hurry because they're running late, zipping through and trying to turn around, this is of grave concern to us. We strongly oppose any site design that shifts traffic burdens or safety risks onto its residents. So we respectfully request that the Town and Plan Commission reject any plan that depicts a sanitary sewer connection into Chelsea Park's internal system, require the developer to revise its plans to eliminate any proposed tie-in across Chelsea Park property, confirm on the record that Chelsea Park plat does not authorize third-party sewer connections, require a recorded easement from Chelsea Park HOA before any such connection could ever be considered, address the traffic impacts created by the right-in and right-out design, and require modifications that prevent diversion of traffic into Chelsea Park. Condition any approval on removal of the sewer connection and mitigation of the traffic impacts. The recorded plat is clear. The daycare developer has no legal right to access or connect to the sanitary sewer within Chelsea Park. No easement exists permitting such access. Dedication to the town does not create private development rights. And the proposed traffic configuration will divert vehicles into the Chelsea Park neighborhood, creating safety hazards for all residents. Chelsea Park HOA respectfully requests this memorandum be entered into the official record. Thank you very much for listening.
All right, next up is Ken Williamson. And then Eric, you'll be up after Ken.
Ken Williamson, I'm a resident of Chelsea Park as well. Thank Tracy for kind of making our position clear. I won't talk too much about the sewer. I think she did a great job with that. I just wanted to highlight a couple other things on the traffic concerns. Just to make it clear, when you have that picture of the site up, you can see with no ability to make a left-hand turn into the site coming from the south on Michigan Avenue, what you would have to do to get into, to drop your kid off would be to make a left on Sycamore, which is quite a ways south of that intersection, go all the way down to Main Street, go all the way up Main Street past the public golf course, then make a right on Templin and come all the way down to make a right into the site. I just don't see that realistically being something parents are going to try to do when they're hustling to drop kids off on their way to work. The reality is they're going to go to that intersection at Templin and Michigan. They're going to make a left-hand turn. They're going to go down to the entrance to our neighborhood, which is the first viable turnaround spot. They're either going to do a U-turn right at the entrance to the neighborhood, or they're going to come all the way down and turn around in the cul-de-sac and come back out. And it's going to create a lot of noise, a lot of traffic, a lot of problems in the morning for the residents who are trying to get out and get to work. And the other thing I will highlight, Tracy mentioned this, but there's a bus stop right at the corner of where our neighborhood is and Templin Road. There's always little kids there. We are actively trying to get the speed limit lowered in our neighborhood to remind residents to be particularly careful at that corner. And this is just going to complicate those matters quite a bit in terms of the traffic problem that it creates. So that's just what I wanted to add, and appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ken. Eric?
My name is Eric Pearson, member of Chelsea Park Board and also a resident. I'm here to speak as a resident.
State your name or your address as well.
5433 Pembridge Lane. Tracy did a great job.
Name, please.
Eric Pearson.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Tracy did a great job. Ken's pointed out the safety concerns. I want to reiterate those safety concerns. My office sits looking out at the front of our neighborhood, and I see multiple cars each day doing that U-turn in the front of our neighborhood. This would just enhance the number of cars actually doing that. We've mentioned that we have multiple children in the neighborhood. That's actually about 25 children under 5. So it would be a significant safety concern to us in the neighborhood if we allowed this proposal to move through with the current traffic plan. Thank you.
And last is Sally Booth.
Hi, my name is Dr. Sally Booth. I've been a resident of Zionsville for 29 years at 2775 South, 875 East. I also own Booth Dermatology at 12050 North Michigan Road, which is just south of this project. I own 12060 North Michigan Road, which directly abuts the property. And I've been concerned since this was proposed. I have a friend that was on the BZA, and he said there's absolutely no way they're going to approve this zoning with that many egresses and ingresses this close to a major traffic intersection. But it was approved. I was never notified. The proposed project has said that I was sent letters, but I never signed for it. So I would have remonstrated at the zoning hearing. But this is news to me about medians on Michigan Road, which will greatly impact the ingress and egress of my property. But my other major concerns are, as people have brought up, the traffic and the safety. The person who said they will never approve it also pointed out to me that people going north on Michigan Road, in order to do an ingress off Michigan Road, are going to have to make a U-turn further north of Templin in order to get back and do a right-in. Or people going west on Greenfield or Templin are going to have to make a U-turn, as it has been alluded to. And it's just very unsafe. And as I understand it, cars are going to be parking. There's only been a 7-foot setback. I don't know if that's 7 foot from the road, but it sounds very close. Cars will be parked very close to the road, and with cars and a wall that you've proposed, that's going to create a visual impact to people leaving my property. We have 28 parking spaces at my clinic. We see about 100 people a day between myself and
1 minute.
Dr. Waterman. And on busy days, my staff has to park on the north lot at 12060 to provide enough parking spaces for staff. So I just see no way you're going to have 23 staff and that many egresses and ingresses of students during peak flow or daycare center users. I don't see how that's going to work, and I think it's going to be a major traffic impact that's a big danger to children and the whole neighborhood. So thank you for your time.
Kyle, do you want to speak to those comments?
Thank you to the members of the public for voicing concerns and comments, particularly the HOA residents and Dr. Booth, who we've had conversations with before. So just to the Plan Commission, we are aware, have had conversations with multiple of these members of the public voicing their concerns. I will address the comments with respect to traffic impact and otherwise, summarizing many of the comments, I think, most notably being concern of traffic traveling west and making a U-turn. As noted, the vehicular circulation had been and connectivity had been reviewed by the town staff as well as INDOT. The recommendation from INDOT, as I noted earlier, was to install the median if traffic concerns, particularly with traffic turning south into the site, created a significant backup of traffic with traffic turning west, because as we've noted, but given the unique nature, size, and location of this site, it is particularly close to the intersection. So traffic, again, traveling west, traffic turning west from 421 onto Templin Road. We also have a traffic queuing issue that we're balancing as well. Ultimately, the developer, myself, the tenant can't comment as to whether or not the users or visitors of the site will follow the rules of the road, ultimately of whether making legally, whether they are legally traversing Templin Road or otherwise, but we can follow the guidance of both staff as well as NDOT as well as the traffic study impact as to the best and safest use of the site as proposed. The remaining comments really, which were from Tracy with respect to the utility access, which obviously I offered some initial commentary here. If I may summarize some terms used there: unlawful access, no public rights, no new connections. The petitioner disagrees with the findings of the HOA. In particular, there is language included in the plat that, if I may read verbatim, that all stormwater, drainage, water, and I'll add some emphasis here, and sanitary sewer easements shown on this plat are hereby dedicated to the town of Zionsville, save and except except for those stormwater, drainage, water, and sanitary sewer easements specifically identified as private on the plat and approved by the Plan Commission to be privately owned, operated, and maintained. The sanitary sewer structure, manhole, and service of which we are proposing that the petitioner's site connect to does not fall within this exception. In fact, the easement area is one that is therefore dedicated to the town of Zionsville. We get into, as the letter outlines, we get into some practical concerns of installation versus maintenance. Practically speaking, the plat would have been approved and recorded prior to any time when utilities would have perhaps existed or been installed by the developer, and so I object to any claim by the developer, excuse me, by the
1 minute.
By the opposition here that the petitioner, or in fact the town of Zionsville, can only maintain utilities. If that dedicated easement is granted to the town of Zionsville, they should, particularly as a utility governed by the IORC, and otherwise they should be able to install, maintain, inspect, repair, replace, extend, or otherwise. Most importantly here, this proposed connection point between the existing main and the proposed utility line from the petitioner here is an extension of a public utility. In fact, it's one that the town of Zionsville, as a utility provider, could even exercise eminent domain rights if they wanted to extend the utility service along Templin Road on the north side or the south side or otherwise. So this connection point falls squarely within the dedicated easement rights, but particularly within rights of a utility service provider here. As a petitioner, in summary, we look to the guidance of the town on this issue. Thank you.
All right. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing. It is 9:21. All right. So questions, deliberation, conversation about
Brad, I'm going
this
to
project.
jump in and ask, could I ask one question of the HOA representative
Yes.
on the sewer front?
Yes, absolutely.
And so if we could invite her back up. I'm sorry, I don't recall her name.
Tracy.
You probably should state your name and.
Tracy Montgomery, president of the Chelsea Park HOA. I never gave my address. It's 5370 Pembridge Lane. I'm a resident.
Thank you. Not a lawyer, don't play one on TV, I don't know who has legal standing for what. But is there something that you're authorized to say the HOA could list as a condition that the petitioner may or may not agree to that would make the sewer connection issue go away?
I guess that at this point, with the other concerns, it is hard for me to say, yes, we will let the sewer system go away. They did not approach us to tell us that they were planning on hooking into that manhole. We had talked about another one that went over a lot of our land, but this one they did not. And it is our understanding that according to Indiana law, that an easement, a dedicated easement is the same.
I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's.
We are mum on whether, who's right or wrong on that. I just was looking for a way, if there was a way that was acceptable to your homeowners association, that was also acceptable to the petitioner.
I think that.
If there's not, there's not. But-
Well, I think that in isolation, maybe. But we have a very, very serious issue with the traffic. And so, again, we can't look at that in isolation.
I understand. Just made a run at it. Thank you, that's all I have.
Can I
Please,
weigh in
yeah,
on that,
yeah.
please?
Yeah,
I was
please.
wondering if somebody was going to ask.
Thank you.
Indiana law is pretty clear on this, and virtually every utility easement that I've ever seen, and I haven't looked at this one, I just became aware of it this evening, but virtually every one I've seen permits for the installation, maintenance, repair, extension. The grantee of this is the town of Zionsville Utilities.
Again, I take no
And
position on any of that.
I get that, but it's my understanding John Oberlander has looked at this. Kyle has, I have, and I think we're all three uniformly in agreement that Zionsville has the ability to extend that in the existing easement or in other rights of way, public rights of way, to a developer that they want to. It's not the developer that's extending it, it's the town. The town is going to own it up to the property line, or perhaps even all the way up to the building. But be that as it may, it is the town that's doing it, and the town has all the rights, duties, and responsibilities to do that under Indiana law.
Even if it is on easement land owned by Chelsea Park?
The easement grantee is the town, and they have the ability to install, repair, maintain, and extend.
Even to a private entity?
Of course. Much as they would to any homeowner. Yes, absolutely.
So, correct me if I'm wrong here as well, is that the Plan Commission's duty tonight really doesn't take this matter into concern anyways, because
no.
we are only looking at a site plan or development plan approval,
And I
and
did-
it's up to them to find their course to
Absolutely.
get to a sewer line.
I
It's
just
not up
wanted
to
to-
us.
Yep,
We cannot deny it based on that factor alone.
Correct.
I mean, even if you had an ironclad lock on that sewer line, we cannot deny it based on just that piece alone.
Correct. I just wanted to try and
Yeah,
clear the air
sure.
on that.
And then
but-
Indiana law also says that any property that's developed within a certain number of feet of a sewer line is mandated to connect to that sewer line. Like, there's also law there that suggests that you can't guard a public utility. So regardless of whether or not you have a case or not there, it's not something we can take into consideration tonight. Now, the safety issue, some of that, we definitely can.
Okay, thank you.
So, kind of looking at that, first and foremost, even before the traffic flow, which is very valid, we're looking at, what, a 38% reduction from 2 acres to like 1.28? Is that normal? Like, is that historic? Like, is that something we've done?
EPA's already approved that.
They've already approved that part? Did they have any comments on that?
I can speak to that, maybe Kyle can or staff.
I kept Jim there late that night for
Kept
sure.
me there that late, kept.
And Josh as well, but,
This is a difficult site, and if it ever had an opportunity to be commercially developed, some allowances needed to be made. It's as simple as that from my standpoint.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's kind of where I came down at the BZA process. There was 4 variances. I think we provided them at the time.
So I was reminded tonight when he told us.
Yeah. I remember doing them, but, yeah, I'm with you. It's a very unique site. That's kind of what the BZA is for, is to address unique sites like this, or that, part of the BZA. So, yeah, I stand behind our decisions at the BZA level. I knew we were gonna have some problems when we got to this level, but, it's a challenging site.
It is, and Kendrick, if I'm stepping on what you wanted to
No,
say,
please
you'll
do.
forgive me, because
No.
we know each other.
Yes.
But I am satisfied that we're not having 165 kids changing over 3 or 4 times a day. So I am curious if the traffic study talks at all about, the knock-on effect of this median installation and what U-turns might look like and how that gets mitigated. I'm curious what it says, but I've surfaced that, in my mind, that the traffic study, the right numbers were put into the traffic study for how this petitioner says they're going to operate their business. Maybe we need to give some thought about how we control for the next thing, but Brad, correctly, in using parking, it's also kind of the same analogy for traffic of, well, if you always plan for the worst-case scenario, it's going to be tough to permit anything. So I, right now, will narrow my question. Can somebody tell me what the traffic study says about these medians and what's going to happen with traffic when?
Yeah, I can. And Raul can speak to the technical side. I can give you the summary, which I think will cut to the layman side of it. It is not our developers. They didn't come to this project saying, how can we put a median on Templin? That was definitely not part of the plan. So this site, and it's worth, I don't know if it can be seen, but it's okay. There are 2 curb cuts today. They're unimproved, but if you go look out there today, there's 2 curb cuts, and they are the farthest away from the intersection that you can physically put them. We kept them in the same spot because we knew that putting it any closer would not probably be a good idea. You'll notice when we did the traffic study, we found that a southbound right turn lane was warranted. We put that in our initial recommendations when we sent it to NDOT and to George Lewis at the town as well. They came back and they concurred. They said, thanks, we agree. Southbound right turn lane, you're going to put as much of that in as you can because there's only so much limited length that you have on Michigan Road as a frontage. And then they asked us, and I say they asked, it really wasn't an ask, it was a dictate, that we extend that median further south because it's just close enough that someone could get the idea that they could go northbound and if there's no southbound traffic, sneak into the wrong lanes and duck in and effectively treat it as a full access. They don't want that to happen. So they required us to extend it about, I think it was 70 feet, Tessa, south? 70 feet south to prevent that movement even from someone who is going to try it. Our client was not particularly thrilled about doing construction on Michigan Road, but that was a requirement, so we did it. And then they lamented, they didn't require it, but they said, we should talk to Zionsville about the potential for northbound Michigan Road left movements if they try to make a left in and there's a bunch of traffic there and they stop and they hold and then it backs up into the Michigan Road right-of-way. NDOT was concerned about that possibility. They didn't go so far as to say we're going to require you to do it, but they asked Zionsville to look at it. So George and the town looked at it. George, and I don't think I'm putting words in his mouth at all because I talked to him earlier today because I said I want to make sure I present this properly. He didn't come to us and say it's a requirement. He said, we're concerned enough that we would like you to consider it or put a long-term commitment on the property that if at any point in time, maybe there's going to be an issue, we're going to call you back out to put a median in. Talked to my client. It's like, we don't necessarily want to have a commitment that could last into perpetuity, that maybe 9 years from now we have to come and put a median in. We'd rather put the median in now, alleviate the concerns with that backup traffic in Michigan Road, and be done with the project and not have that looming as a potential significant cost well into the future that So that's what brought us to where we're at today. We're between a rock and a hard place, because for us, we probably preferred not to put the median in, but the town has directed us as a means of potential concern. And this very unique user, we do a lot of retail development. Not very many retailers would be okay with having 2 right-in, right-outs, and that's it for a development. It could be enough to kill most developments, I would say. This one, because it's a destination and they know that those parents are going to find a way to get there, and they're going to be repeat coming from different directions.
And I think that repeat is important.
That's where they were okay with it. To be honest, surprised me that they were, but they said, we've done this all the time, 2 right-in, right-outs will work for us. So that's what led us to today. So that's the whole 3 months process of how we got to where we're at. And the traffic study, as we said, it shows that it works as a 3/4 entrance, a full entrance, or a right-in, right-out along Templin. And without queuing issues back into the public right-of-way. And that's usually the kicker on traffic studies, is trying to figure out what that looks like. So, yep.
I got a question, follow up on that. In your discussions with INDOT, have they mentioned the results or the fact that they're engaged in this 421 forward study? They've been looking at this stretch of road beginning with Templin Road and Michigan Road for the last 3 years. And that study, I think, is supposed to conclude in 2026. So I'm just very curious if that was part of the discussion at all. I think they've considered maybe a roundabout right there, which certainly would alleviate a lot of the concerns that we're trying to talk about tonight.
So and I believe you broke up there at the start, but did INDOT mention anything about this when we spoke with them? Was that your question?
I want to know.
They did, and we're dedicating public right-of-way along Michigan Road to INDOT, partially due to, it's the long range, it's a very large corridor, I guess I'll say, and it's getting even wider for presumably potential improvements in the future. And they did mention that there are future plans potentially for the corridor. I would say most major corridors have some degree of future planning going on in them. I don't know, Raul, if you have anything to add to that, but they didn't ask us to dedicate any more than what I view as pretty significant amounts of frontage, which, by the way, was one of the reasons why we were in here requesting a variance for a front yard, because we were already stepping quite a bit back, and then we had to measure from there even further back. So the 7 foot, it's really 30 to 40 feet, but 7 foot from the dedicated property line. So Tim Watson, George Kepcha, the 2 people from the Crawfordsville district, were who we coordinated with through the process. And they did mention it, but it wasn't a huge topic of decision-making for this project with the curb cuts as shown.
I have a follow-up question to that. So earlier, when we were talking about there's 40 feet between the road and those parking spaces, what I'm hearing is potentially that could be taken and reduced.
If the state of Indiana decides it's their public right-of-way, so they could, in the future, turn it into a 6-lane highway or
So
more.
what is the minimum that would be there?
So what we were approved by at BZA was a reduction, and don't quote me, I don't have it directly in front of me, but it's on the record. We have to be able to fit our landscaping in, which we do. The 30-foot front yard buffer was reduced, I think, at minimum 7 feet was what it was. But it would be odd to have a public road literally all the way up to the edge of the right-of-way. There's always tends to be some yard, some sidewalk, travel lane. So as it is today, and I'm not trying to spin this at all, but can we pull a map up so we can try to?
Yeah, Thomas, do you mind promoting, please?
There, good.
Is this good?
Yeah, so is there a way to, perfect, we got it. So the current edge of the road is right here, and then there's the turn lane that I'm hovering my hand over, if you can see that. The distance that I was measuring was from the tip of my index finger on that hand over to the face of that curb. This has 2 southbound lanes and a turn lane, and there are 2 northbound lanes here. INDOT may, it's their state right, to improve this. I don't personally foresee it becoming more than 2 lanes in either direction. It would turn into something larger than Keystone Avenue at some point. I think but they have the ability, and they would study that and they would have to go through the process of potential right-of-way acquisition and all the things the state goes through if they ever considered a roundabout solution at that intersection. But they take into consideration all kinds of things in that process, and I don't believe that they never mentioned any preliminary design or anything to that matter for there.
So the worst-case scenario is the pink.
The worst-case scenario, that is the public right-of-way to be dedicated with this project, or any project for that matter, is right there along that red line.
And it would be 7 feet,
Yes.
7 feet from the property line. So the pink is the hypothetical total taking right-of-way road improvements that from the west line of the pink to the east line of the parking space, that would be 7 feet. To the extent it was any more than that, we would be in a legal non-conforming situation likely.
Kyle, I know you've described an elevation change right there.
Pardon?
Elevation change right there.
There is elevation change on the property. It's more prominent on the corner where the intersection is falling down, so everything drains from south to north on Michigan Road, falls down into the creek that's further, Little Fishback Creek, or Little Eagle Creek, I think, to the north. So yes, at the northeast corner of the site where my hand is now, this sidewalk pathway connection, which is a part of our project, will be cutting into that hillside slightly. Now, there's a Citizens Energy Group water main, or a water, I don't even know what it is. It's a booster pump or some kind of a pressure box that we've been talking to citizens about that's in here. There's a lot of utilities. There's a traffic signal pole. But by the time you get down to the south edge of the project, grade is fairly similar between the site and Michigan Road, but it falls to the north.
Starts up and then back down.
Yeah.
My follow-up question that is has petitioner, is it possible, I don't know, has petitioner considered putting any kind of barrier, wall, something there that would address safety concerns with respect to kids getting in and out of cars and going into a daycare, preschool?
The answer directly is no, they have not.
No, I did want to point out the amount of landscaping, and not that that's going to stop a child, but there's significant amount of landscaping along that frontage as well. There could be some things considered. I think I would ask staff, though, there's probably some, we can't put a fence in the front, things like that. I don't know if we'd have to be compliant with the code, I guess is my point.
We can build walls for noise, but I'm more inclined to build walls for the safety of children, so.
I think the
I just
wall
want to
would,
get back to the petition as before, as we're talking about all kinds of things that really aren't in the charge of the Plan Commission. I respect the concerns around them, but I think we need to focus on what's being asked of us tonight. And I'm inclined to promote, I'm all for this project, but I do think there's significant safety concerns that need to be addressed. So that said, I don't know if certain conditions we might ask for could address some of those concerns.
I also have a follow-up question on the traffic study. Did it have time periods can you let us know what those time periods were? Because I also have some safety concerns about the children at the bus stop down the road. And I know that may not be exactly what we're talking about here, but there's still kids in our community, and I want to know if that's the same time that bus is coming.
Ro, would you be able to speak to the theory of the traffic study in terms of
Not to interrupt, we're all asking about this traffic study. Any chance we can actually maybe continue this till next month and get a copy of this traffic study so we
absolutely.
can actually digest it ourselves?
Sure. It was approved by the town, approved by NDOT, it's been submitted to the town, so, yeah.
As much as I hate continuing a petition,
Well,
I think that may be our
in addition,
route.
in addition to that, piggybacking, I feel like I would like them to go back to DPW and try to figure out one of two things. One is, let's not, do a provisional period of time to be able to understand if we're getting U-turns or not. And maybe it's a period of time where we don't have that median there, with them having a bond, which is a commitment to build that median at a later date and put a cap on it, a year, 2 years, not 9 years, as was, suggested. They don't want to have that cloud hanging over their head for too long, but I mean, that would, if we can do a left-hand turn off of Templin into this development, that might solve the problem.
Seems to be one of our larger
But
challenges.
if traffic is backing up onto Michigan Road, then that would trigger the need to actually put in the median. I'm just wondering if there's giving them 30 days to talk with DPW about some kind of an agreement where they're willing to make the improvement sometime within the next 2 years if it proves necessary. I don't know, just a thought.
We'll certainly fully respect that. We've been talking to DPW
I know
for
you
probably
have,
60
but-
days on this matter.
But here's the
We talked
thing-
about tubular tubes too. There was
Yeah.
a reference down to where the Aldi is, further south on Michigan Road. It's Indianapolis, but it's not, it's somewhat of a similar situation. The town staff, and I don't blame them for this, are not particularly inclined to like those tubes because they tend to get destroyed either by, if they go through a winter season or others, you tend to see them off in the grass laying there because they got hit. I do want to answer the question, if you'd like us to, we can answer the question on the timing of the traffic study, or if you just want to defer that for looking at it yourself. But Raul could speak to the time of.
The time frame, sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, so based on the data we got from TLE, from other sites, we expect the peak hour traffic to be between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning, and then 4:30 and 5:30 in the afternoon. Again, the drop-offs and pickups will be, dispersed throughout the day, but that's the 6:30 to 9:30 window is kind of the peak arrival or departure, drop off and leave, and then in the evening, vice versa. So those are the time windows that we looked at, and that's what the IT trip gen manual points to.
7:30 to 8:30 and then 4:30 to 5:30?
Yes.
Okay. Do we want to have a motion for a continuance? Is that the direction we're leaning?
So just real quick too, before you continue anything, are we gonna look at any of the architecture issues? I mean, I appreciate this is up because I was actually gonna ask for this to be brought up, as well as the sign, that looks like it's just kind of painted on another part of the building. I mean, is there, do we want to give any thoughts to that as well, as far as what that looks like, not only from Templin? Because part of the traffic thing too, like, I understand it, but it has been evaluated by professionals. We just told the folks that remonstrated against the crew that, had an issue with traffic flow and asked about stop signs and that sort of thing. And kind of the comment was, reach out to your local law enforcement and make sure that, people are abiding by the rules. So I'm not trying to push that aside, but I want to make sure that what doesn't happen is we continue it based off of traffic, and then it comes back, and then we realize it looks really bad, the north part of it, and then ask them to, adjust anything architecturally. So do we want to take a second to make sure, traffic aside, there's not anything else we want them to look at?
I'll touch on that then. I agree. So what I would suggest is, I've actually shared the architecture with a couple of local architects, Zionsville residents. Both of them said the building feels top-heavy, and it's literally just a adjustment of that band board to the midpoint or up about 16 inches, and it's not a material change. It's, as far as the facade materials, it's just more of a relocation of that. It seems to be aligned with the top of the little awning out in front, but it really needs to be moved up. Trees, I mentioned before, just the hackberry in this particular urban site, close to kids playing, playground, that kind of stuff. It may not be the best tree, maybe consider another tree that's not going to have the mess. And then honey locust that's on the plan, one variety of honey locust has large thorns on it, like serious thorns, like punctures tires, serious injuries. Just in your plan, note that you're going to use the Shadow Master, Sky Lane varieties, non-thorned varieties. They're out there, just it doesn't clearly state that. And then on the drawings, the architectural drawings, there are dormers on 3 sides, but when you look at the side views, the side elevations, it doesn't really show the projection of those dormers, like a side view of those dormers. So it kind of looks like they're not there on some drawings, and then other drawings they're there. I think that just is maybe an oversight. But I think in summary of Plan Commission, what I'm hearing is that consider some kind of a safety barrier along the Michigan Road side of that parking lot. See if we can get an agreement with DPW to do something as a temporary, let's try a solution out for a period of time and see if it works. And if not, have a plan B in play that the petitioner would be required to implement. And then I think, Jim, I don't know if this is what you were saying but possibly a commitment for maximum students per day.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily for this development, but if it becomes another daycare center in 10 years from now, they may want.
Yeah, but your parking argument was a little sway there. I mean, it's hard to future-proof it that way. So, I mean, maybe more as a reminder to me and Josh on BZA when we're doing stuff like this, but.
I figure we run it up here.
Yeah.
I will say one more thing about DPW. I love them. They are on their game. NDOT sometimes looks at projects like this with tunnel vision of just engineering, not about community impacts, neighborhood impacts down the road, that type of stuff. And, I do want to maybe apply a little pressure to DPW if we can. Not that Plan Commission really can, but to just see if we can make that left-hand turn off of Templin Road work and see if we can study it for a period of time and have that commitment that a median would go in after a period of time if it proves to be necessary.
Respecting that Commissioner Plopper made a motion, can I ask if there were any items on your checklist that President Johnson didn't list?
No.
Only given the lengthy discussion tonight.
Did I summarize everything okay?
Yeah, I'm satisfied with your summary. I think we need to turn the focus back to the project. So, I mean, for the purpose of the continuance, my feelings about that have to do with what's on the barrier between the site plan and Michigan Road. I don't have any concerns around the sewer connectivity. We shouldn't have an opinion about that anyways, but yeah, I mean, I do understand all the safety concerns and everything that we've talked about at length, but I think it needs a little more time.
I'll just point out one other thing about the Templin Road median, and that is that another possible thing to explore is that the petitioner make a commitment that they regularly and persistently are communicating that U-turns in the neighborhoods down the road is not something that they support, and just whatever way they possibly can is to prevent that from happening. It would not be safe for the kids in those cars going to the daycare to be involved in a U-turn at a neighborhood, let alone the kids in those neighborhoods. So I just don't think we want anything to do with promoting U-turns happening in places they just are not designed to happen.
Also, I don't want to be the only one that kind of has an issue with that north facade. I mean, it looks it is forward facing to Templin. There's a neighborhood right across the street. Right now, it is just a flat facade with a sign smack dab in the middle, in between two windows. There are no bump outs. It just looks, I would hate to kind of look across the street at, something like that. And again, as you're headed, south on Michigan Road, that is going to be a prominent thing that you look at as you pass by. So I would like to see something. I think there is room there. looking at the site plan and that sort of thing, with the sidewalk. Also, if you've got parking on that end and it is raining, maybe it would be nice to have something there. I don't know how the flow is of the layout and that sort of thing, but I would like to at least see something on that Templin side done to spruce it up a little.
All right, with that, let's, I think there's a
Made a
motion.
motion to continue.
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. None opposed? Okay, let's adjourn for 10 minutes for a break.
If we do that, do we need to vote
Suspend
to
rules.
continue the meeting? Because 10 minutes would put us a start date after 10 o'clock.
If we say no, we'll be here tomorrow.
5 minutes. How about a 5-minute break?
So be back at 9:57.
Yes, there we go.
57. Go fast.
Commission meeting back in order. Start our next line item, which is 2026-17-PPA, Harris Family Limited Partnership Appaloosa Crossing Outlot Consolidation. We have a- And then Roger, or you got, okay, get us kicked off here.
Thank you. If my screen can be promoted, please, thank you. Again, the petition for consideration is a primary plat amendment, and this is to consolidate a few different properties up within the Appaloosa Crossing development. The properties consist of two platted outlots, D and E, with a portion of a private street and portions of unplatted areas within Appaloosa Crossing. And the goal of this primary plat amendment is to result in two commercial lots, and these would be in the Rural General Business District. And I should point out that this area falls outside of the Rural Michigan Road overlay, so those standards would not apply to these lots. The map up on the screen, I've outlined the property that's involved, and again, just to help better understand the two platted lots, D and E, were these two outlots when Appaloosa Crossing came through and they did the primary plat and then eventually the secondary plat. They did do the secondary platting for all of the perimeter outlots. But this interior core, and I will get to it in a moment, tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and get there now. This is the primary plat that was approved back in 2020 by the Planning Commission. And again, it showed the outlots, but this interior core was just identified as a block, as a yet-to-be-developed area. Well, a portion of this interior block has now been developed. I'm going to go back to the map here. Portion of it has been developed with the towns of Appaloosa Crossing that Pulte did. But the remainder of that block was still this area here that was never went through the secondary platting process. So it still technically remains as a meets and bounds description. So again, we're trying to merge these two platted lots, this portion of this private drive, Conner Maria Drive, and then this unplatted area, all go through the primary plat amendment to result in two lots, one lot being 7.05 acres, and the other portion of that lot then being 1.35 acres. So these would be the two resulting lots of this primary plat amendment. Obviously, should it be approved, they would have to go through they would have to amend the secondary plat and have that recorded, and that's what would officially establish these two new lots. I've jumped around on my notes, so I'm just wanting to make sure I'm covering everything. Staff supports approval of the primary plat amendment to consolidate the area within Appaloosa Crossing, resulting in the two commercial lots. With that, I've already pointed out the zoning. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
All right, any questions for staff? Seeing none, would you like to?
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Misha Rabinowitz. I'm an attorney with offices at 1 Indiana Square in Indianapolis.
10 minutes, just
I
give you.
won't even take 10 minutes.
great,
Hopefully it
thank
will
you.
take 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
It's a pretty simple request. On the line, too, is Matt Landreau with Bowler Engineering, in case you have technical questions. But it's a pretty simple request. We're solely the master developer of the Appaloosa development is interested in reconfiguring these lots primarily for the purpose to make them more marketable. Essentially, it makes it turnkey. Wish was here with a user for you. We're not. We think this makes it more palatable for users that may be looking at the site. I think the staff report is pretty self-explanatory. The plat meets the ordinance or the lots meet the ordinance requirements, and with that, I'll yield the rest of my 10 minutes.
Perfect, thank you. We'll note that you've reserved them. Do we have any persons that want to speak? Excellent, thank you, Jody. All right. We're going to start off with Mike, and then second on deck will be John, and then Lisa. If you would like to speak up or come up to the podium.
Yeah, I think you may be reading my name, which, Misha, on that list, so.
Oh, Misha, I'm sorry. Yes, I am so sorry. And then John Greco. And then Lisa will be on deck.
Yeah, John Greco, 3230 Automash Drive, Willow Glen. Our property is the third house down. We border the property that's there. And, you know, I really don't, I can't say that I have an opinion relative to the zoning. The big concern is going to be, and it's many of the things that were talked about this already earlier tonight, is what's going to happen with buffering, what's going to happen with landscaping, hours of use. I don't know if those are really the responsibilities that you get involved with, but as we go bigger, now all of a sudden, what's going to go in there, and maybe it's not any of our positions to do that, but they all open up the same questions that were done for, you know, the crew car wash that's, you know, how close it is. This is literally our backyard. And we've been promised landscaping 5, 7 years ago. None of it's there. Well, it'll come when it gets developed. So we're still sitting looking at just, you know, I'm looking at a, you know, a waste retention pond. And I'm just concerned that if we just say this is just to be more marketable and there's no conditions on it for what's going to go there, hours of operations, things regarding lighting, all those things go in. Maybe they're already covered. I got a little concerned when I heard this is not covered by some of the same rules that were already in place for the things out on Michigan Road. So does that mean this can become a mire? It's going to be open from till midnight? And we're going to have trucks showing up at 2 at night? You know, we already have, you know, dumpsters. We can hear the dumpsters at 4 or 5 in the morning just at the shops up there. So I just have a concern that, and I don't know if that's part of this or if this is part of the town council. I'm just learning. That's why we're trying to hear, just to try to understand what's going to go in behind our house. We know it needs to be developed. Don't get us wrong. But without knowing what it is or why it is, it's just sort of like it's a blanket because it's going to be more marketable. Well, say you have a tenant and say you have something, then come and get it to where you ask for it. We're kind of putting the cart before the horse. That's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Lisa, and then there's another name, Brad, after that.
Hi, my name is Lisa Antonacci. I live at 3220 Automash Drive, and I have concerns, and so does these homeowners of Willow Glen. We feel ignored and overpromised and underdelivered. So, you know, concerning that we have a new project. We have Appaloosa with concerns and promises that were never met. For example, we were promised that that development was going to be maintained, that it's going to be, clean up the property, maintain it, just like we all do maintain our properties. The dead trees were going to be removed, weeds, poison ivy, excess wood, debris, old fencing, and garbage. We were promised new landscaping, new trees, shrubbery, flowers. In fact, they were sent a private landscaper to each one of the homes on the west side of Automash. We all met with them. They discussed landscaping, trees, and flowers. And then once it was all developed and approved, then all of a sudden it disappeared. We heard that they couldn't afford it anymore. I don't know if that's the truth or not. But anyways, they were never honored. Instead, we have been left with years of neglect and an ongoing eyesore. We are forced to look out at overgrown weeds, poison ivy, dead trees, falling fence lines, excessive wood, garbage, and orange construction netting. This orange construction netting has been there for years. It goes from one end all the way to 300. We look at, I don't even open my blinds anymore in my house because I don't even want to look at it anymore. What kind of quality of life is that for us? It's really not. Anyways, there's overgrown shrubbery. and weeds. Actually, it's like some kind of ragweed that goes in the wind in June through like the early fall. I have videos, I have pictures. It concerns our health. My neighbor can't leave her house because of the allergies. We have poison ivy coming onto the property. One of our neighbors is rushed to the ER because of it. Dogs are getting poison ivy as well. Also, a safety issue. We promised the farmer's fence. I'm from New York, I don't even know what that is, but now it's falling down in my backyard. Little kids are in danger. There's residents, dogs, et cetera. And now we have all these debris from the flowers that he doesn't mow the lawn. It's feet tall. And all of these ragweed in the wind. It looks like it's snowing. It's in my new HVAC outside. I go around, give me that thing. All right, look at this. Look at this. I got a prop. This, my Stanley cleaner for my straw. I use this with my long nails to go and clean the HVAC outside to get this morning and night from June to early fall. Why isn't the maintenance of the property being maintained? We all have to maintain it. We pay our taxes, we do everything that we need to do. Why isn't this not being maintained? It's our quality of life, our property values, our health, our safety. We need to enjoy our properties as well. So with that said, I leave that, and I don't know how we're moving forward with a new project when the promises of an old one have not been fulfilled.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the petitioner and/or the folks that spoke against the project?
Misha has an opportunity to.
Yeah, Misha, do you want to have a rebuttal? Thank you.
Just to say that certainly respect the comments that were made. I did talk with Mr. Harris today because I think some of their concerns had been brought to staff's attention, and he had a crew out there working. Sounds like there might be some more significant things like some construction fencing. I'll certainly pass that along and make sure that's taken care of. But I think all we're here about tonight is the subdivision plat, the hours of operation, the business, that sort of thing. That's another process.
All right, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing at 10:10. All right, questions and/or deliberation?
We got three criteria tonight. They're pretty simple criteria to meet. As much as I respect the remonstration, none of that falls under, in my opinion, none of that falls under the bearing of our decision for tonight.
Yeah, and I can briefly speak to that. I mean, so the state statutes give the Plan Commission the ability to subdivide land and to assemble land, combine it. And it's a ministerial process, meaning that we really don't have any discretion on if it meets the ordinance, we have to approve it, and if it doesn't meet the ordinance, we have to deny it. If they're creating lots that don't meet our minimum acreage, then we can deny it, that type of thing. So it's a fairly straightforward process tonight, but to some of your points, and also to Misha's point there at the end, is that anything that gets proposed on this site will come in for a site plan review, development plan approval through the Plan Commission, and at that time, we will be looking at the architecture, looking at landscaping, looking at buffering, looking at all of those aspects that you're concerned about. The ordinance will speak to most of that and actually give guidance on how that plays out, but also the Plan Commission has a little bit of discretion to address specific issues. So,
And to that point, there will be public notice.
Yes.
So that you will be notified again
By-
at that phase of the development.
By combining these lots and making, changing the lot lines, we're not giving approval to a development, we're not denying a development, we're just changing lot lines, and we have to do it ministerially per the state statute. So with that,
I move that docket 2021-17-PPA, primary plat amendment to consolidate two platted outlots D and E with a portion of a private street, portions of unplatted areas within Appaloosa Crossing, resulting in two commercial lots, be approved based on the findings in the staff report, staff recommendation, and findings of fact as presented.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
And I will say one thing, if, as we've learned tonight, if there's something that was supposed to be done in a prior development, we've learned that the proper course, just like with the decibel stuff, is to please report it to the town so that they can enforce that.
I would just mention to the staff is, did they make, at the time of Appaloosa Crossing getting approved, were they supposed to install buffers along this property line at that time? Or is it supposed to come at the time of this project or this lot being developed?
I did not look into the record that closely, but recollection is telling me that as each area was developed, that's when the property boundaries would be improved and developed.
It may be worth looking into if there was a commitment that they were supposed to vegetate this property line, that we should hold them to that. All right, thank you. All right, we have another item on the agenda, but it is after 10, so we need.
We have other business, but it's up to you if you all want to. How's tomorrow look?
Pretty full tomorrow is the longer.
I move we kick the can. I say we kick the can on down, unless staff thinks
So-
there's, one of these needs to be addressed
So
relatively soon.
the Plan Commission rules, it's a fairly simple change, is that correct? Just
Yeah,
give
there's
us
a couple of pretty
thumbnail of what's-
straightforward changes. One is to the public hearing procedures, which we have begun going the way we want the rules to read. The rules just don't read that way yet, so we've modified those public hearing procedures to match what we're actually doing. That's found on page 14 and 15 for the public hearing stuff. And then we had previously reserved some space for Plan Commission committees. A lot of Plan Commissions do establish committees to do some more in-depth review. So what we've done is just given some food for thought, and that starts on page 17 and 18, to allow the Plan Commissioners to establish certain committees, some of the rules of how those committees would function, membership, not who, but titles and whatnot, and then what those committees would be: ordinance amendment committee, land use committee, architecture committee, those kinds of things. This is staff's attempt at just giving you some things to think about based on stuff we've heard from one or two of you guys on how do we maybe make the meetings flow a little smoother, go a little quicker. The committees can make all the sausage, and then you guys get the committee reports at the end of the sausage making and say, yes, this sausage is delicious, or no, I don't think the sausage is quite done. Please continue to make more sausage.
Getting hungry.
So that's where we're proposing a couple of changes for you guys to consider. Don't have to do anything tonight, but we did want to get it in front of you guys so you can start thinking about it. And then if you have comments and questions, just please get them to me. I can put them back in the rules and we can vote next month. Not tomorrow, but next month.
I'm eager to get committees established so we can reduce the meeting time. I mean, that's the ultimate goal of it, is to meet with the developers earlier, hash out the type of stuff we've talked about tonight, and so it's all teed up and we're just making taking quick actions. So the more we kick that can down the road, the longer we're going to have long meetings. So I'm wondering if we just make a motion, approve it, and we can always tweak it later.
And funds
keep
later,
tweaking
yeah.
it.
Yes.
And just be done with it.
So moved.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. I was hoping we could get through that in less than 5 minutes. Yes. And then the last item is just a memo about lot coverage, and we will definitely cover that at a later date. No need to have a conversation about that tonight, correct?
I did get a request from one of board members here for a list of the members and their contact information. We do have your email addresses, but we don't have your phone numbers. Is there a reason why we can't share contact information with the board members of each other? All right, so I'm going to send an email to you all like tomorrow and ask you for your phone number, and then create a contact list for the board members, okay?
Yep. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
You selling all our information?
All right.
Just wait for the recording.